Tennessee.
We're going to win the game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mace.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mace, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, and we are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. Download their app today and use promo code THEGAME. Day 4, fourth and final day of SEC Media Days here at the Grand Hyatt in downtown Nashville. Our SEC Media coverage is sponsored by Volunteer Hose and Gasket and Mercedes-Benz of Music City. It's Hype Day today.
Hype day.
Hype it up.
Hype day.
Hype day.
Hype day. You know. So I guess it's a good day for Vol fans.
Yeah.
You know, it's a bad day for me.
Why is it a bad day for you?
Because I didn't win the Powerball. I played it, didn't win the Powerball.
no.
Somebody from California won it.
Oh,
Dang it.
dang it.
Gosh, that's
Today's
goodness.
canceled.
Absolutely. Let's cancel today. Everybody, hey, all y'all go home.
Hey,
Go home.
Chase, we're going to wrap up the show here. If you wouldn't mind just filling in the next 3 hours, we'd appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. You can't let your world
I'm going to drown my
sink on a day
sorrows.
like that.
I'm going to have to drown my sorrows in a Faygo Pop or something.
Next time.
Yeah, next time. You're
Next
right
time.
about that.
Yeah,
There'll be another
there's
one.
always
There'll
another
be another
Powerball. Our friend, Mitchell Light, who was walking past us,
Yes.
will
There
join
he
us
is.
in 30 minutes.
It's going to get the free food.
Be
Be
careful.
careful. is my warning
Shaky?
that I shall heed.
Shaky today?
I'm okay today.
Oh,
Monday night and Tuesday was
It was rough.
rough.
He said it was rough.
Man.
It was a
Willy,
rough
you
couple of
wasn't here.
days.
No, I ate with Caroline. That's
And I was
the
going
scary
to
part.
text Willy as I'm laying down on the bathroom floor, feeling miserable with food poisoning. Like, do you feel as bad as I do?
Oh, no.
I know.
Willie
Okay, now.
Willie got a cast iron stomach. I mean, he's been through it all.
Clearly.
Maybe so.
I
don't
need
know.
to sharpen it up a little bit. But Mitch Light will join us in 30 minutes. Rick Neuheisel,
Yes.
D-Mace's old pal in college.
This is must listen to. This
Radio
is gonna be
Sirius
a lot of fun.
XM. It's going to be an absolute blast. Looking forward to hearing all the tea from
Love
D-Mace's
you.
days with
With
Baltimore
the
Ravens.
Yeah. New's a good guy. He has story for days. Great talker, insightful individual. You know, I was talking to him a little bit off air with he and Tequila Spikes, and we were just talking about college realignment and the state of college football and all that good stuff. But New is very insightful, and you know, he put things in simple terms, and that can help, you know, the situation that college football is in now. But you know, when things are simple, you know, those that are at the top don't look at it that way. We could do it a simple way, but they don't want to do it that way.
Right.
So, you know, but it'd be nice to have New on to discuss some of those things.
That will be at 1 o'clock. Looking forward to that. Like I said, it is Hype Day. It is Tennessee Day. So we have to address the number one question that we have been talking about all week, a question that we threw out to Paul Feinbaum, to Joe Tessitore yesterday, and that is Tennessee going to be able to build upon the success they had last year, or was last year just lightning in a bottle? This is what Paul Feinbaum had to say about it. I want to start it off with your alma mater, actually, with Tennessee. Tennessee this past season, I feel like fans feel like they have exercised so many of their demons that they have been feeling over the last 20-plus years. Was last year with Josh Heupel and Hendon Hooker and Cedric Tillman and Jalen Hyatt, was that a one-off, or is that just a peak of what's to come of Tennessee's potential excellence?
I think it was a preview. And, I mean, the team really wasn't that great. I mean, if you go down the personnel, I mean, they had a lot of holes they had to put together. And I thought Heupel was simply a maestro.
So that was Paul Feinbaum on our show earlier this week. He says last year was not lightning in a bottle, that this is just a preview of what's to come with Josh Heupel in this offense and with Tennessee. What do we say? Last year was lightning in a bottle, or a preview of what's to come for Tennessee?
What I've learned about, college football is this. When you have an innovative play caller in this game, it doesn't necessarily, translate to the NFL because I think in the NFL, when you have more players that are capable of defending on the other side of the ball, you can go, 2, 3 deep and still be able to run your defense and be effective in it. I think college football is a little bit different. You may have 1 5-star at corner, and then everyone else is trying to sort of fit in. They're good, but not as good.
Right.
So anytime you got a innovative play caller at the college level, I think you're going to score points. I mean, we can look across the board at guys that may not necessarily won games. You look at Lane Kiffin, what he's been able to do at Ole Miss. They haven't, stringed together, 3 or 4 10-win game seasons. Mm-hmm. But what they do, they score a lot of points. And it's hard to stop a college football team from scoring points in college football, especially if you have a quarterback at the helm that is able to make all the throws. If you have a good wide receiver or 2 wide receivers, and you just got to have an offensive line that can hold up, for at least 2 seconds, because they're not looking all the time to stretch the field. The hashes are different. They spread these guys out. They make you declare right away what you're doing from a defensive standpoint. I said that all year about Tennessee. It's hard to defend Tennessee. Why? Because they sit outside the numbers. The numbers are wider than it is in the NFL. They sit outside the numbers, and they force you as a defense to declare what you're doing right now. Mm-hmm. So it's easy for me as a quarterback to read it. I know exactly where I'm going. Some defenses try to play with you a little bit, but they can't do it all the time. Even the great Nick Saban. The only person that had true success was Kirby Smart. Kirby's a genius when it comes to defense.
And
but even at that,
even in players,
in that, Tennessee had their opportunities.
They did
to score. They dropped balls, overthrew balls. They still had their opportunity to score. So when you have an innovative play caller that knows and understands the game and knows how to call it, it's very hard to stop him. So I don't think this was a one-off for Heupel and his team. Now, are they going to make it, or are they going to win the national championship or win the SEC? I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I think they will score a lot of points, and I think they will win at least 9 or 10 games.
I think the questions I have, number one, exactly what you just said. The bar is a lot higher now. They jumped up. Mm-hmm. So now expectation levels, the fan base is rightfully so, super excited. The other 2 things that when I hear you say that, Derek, I think you're dead on, but this is what I wonder about. Number one, will the league figure out how to defend that offense a little better each time they see it? I remember my frame of reference is 40 Minutes of Hell, Nolan Richardson. Uh-huh. They entered the SEC when I was playing at Vanderbilt. Uh-huh. They did things, I would say Rick Pitino's Kentucky teams had a lot of pressure defense up and down the court. They had their own kind of version of a fast-paced 40 minutes of hell, but it wasn't like you couldn't scout Arkansas. They were so crazy. I mean, the league had never seen anybody really play like that. But after a few years of that, you get used to it a little bit more. You understand exactly. You know what works against it a little bit better. I think there's always a little bit of that. The familiarity that a league gets with a new coach once they've been in there. So that will be the key for Heupel. Do they add a few wrinkles? Do they evolve a bit as the defenses try to adjust to take away some of the things that work so well? And then the last part of it is, can they get the type of quarterback play or close to the type of quarterback play they got last year? Because, Hendon Hooker, he had a great year. When your quarterback has a great year, you're going to win a lot of games. If you go down a notch, it could make the difference in a close game or 2.
And that's why I think it's an intriguing question, because you could make the argument, well, the marriage of Hendon Hooker and Cedric Tillman and Jalen Hyatt, they had a really solid offensive line. Everything just clicked. That everything just worked perfectly in that year, and then that may have been the ceiling of what that offense, what that team can achieve. But I don't think it was lightning in a bottle. Like, I look at, like, true lightning in a bottle was the 2019 LSU team. It was the greatest college football team maybe of all time, and then they turn around and go 5-5 and give up 600 passing yards to Mississippi State in that first game after a national championship. And then the next season they go 6-6, and it's, they just fall off. The coach gets fired 2 years removed from a national championship. That is truly boom into immediate bust. I don't think Tennessee is going to be like that. I agree with D-Mase that as long as you have that offense and as long as you have a quarterback that can throw it deep and receivers that are fast enough to get deep, you're probably going to be pretty successful and you're going to put up a good bit of points. But it is a very fair point by you, Willy. At some point, someone's going to crack the code. At some point, other offenses and other offensive coordinators and offensive gurus are going to figure out what you're doing, and they're going to do it themselves, and they might figure out how to do it better than you. So 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 years down the road, Josh Heupel's going to have to adjust and adapt. And that's something that D-Mase and I talked about a ton yesterday, was how Nick Saban has been able to adapt. So can Josh Heupel do that at Tennessee and continue to evolve? But I don't think they're quite there yet in this upcoming season where they need to continue to evolve. Because I think at this point, everyone, Nick Saban included, was left scratching their heads about how in the world
what
are we letting Jalen Hyatt be 50 yards downfield completely undefended with all green ahead of him into the checkerboard. So I don't think it's lightning in a bottle. I don't think that they are going to be as elite as they were this past season. I gotta see it before I believe it. I got to see it that you can do it with two different quarterbacks before I can say, okay, this is going to be a problem for years to come.
Well, this is what I'm going to fall back on. Josh Heupel, whenever he's been an offensive coordinator, let's just say an offensive coordinator. Let's go back to Missouri. Missouri averaged over 30 points a game. Then his next stop, UCF, those 3 years. They averaged damn near 40 points a game. They were a top 10 offense each time he was there with the same type of offense that he's running now. Maybe he's added some tweaks here and there, but it's been the same thing. Then he gets to UT, and what happens? Nothing drops off. So that tells me, just like a Lane Kiffin, just like any one of these other, high-powered offensive coordinators or play callers, their system, they can take just about anywhere.
Like a Kingsbury.
A Kingsbury.
A Lincoln Riley.
And score points. This is not, to me, it's not a one-off just because he got to Tennessee and, they were scoring points and teams couldn't figure him out, and this year is going to be a little bit different. I don't think it's going to be different. The only thing that will slow them down is the play of the quarterback. That is the only thing that will slow them down. Other than that, I think this team scores 30-something points a game, damn near 40 points a game again.
And that's what I want to get into coming up next, because a huge part of what Tennessee was this past season was because of Hendon Hooker. Can Joe Milton be that? We'll discuss that coming up next, plus your thoughts as well. Josh Heupel will be at the podium in 45 minutes. We will play that live and in its entirety. Mitch Light of The Athletic will join us in 15 minutes. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Plays.
And we are done. Vandy 24-21.
All the big stories.
I'm sure Vandy will be a much better team if Clark Lee is the coach.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
What a stop by UC Sarah.
Then he wouldn't end up on my team.
Driving his way to victory lane.
I think that's the right strategy.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Catch Sounds Baseball at First Horizon Park tonight at 6:35 as the Nashville Sounds take on the Miami Marlins affiliate, and we celebrate Throwback Thursday. The team will wear our classic 1978 uniforms, and you can enjoy $2 and $4 drink specials all night. Get tickets at NashvilleSounds.com.
Hey, Tennessee! We're Zen Sports, the new sportsbook in town. We listen to your feedback on our competitors, so we designed Zen Sports just the way you wish. Set favorites, search and sort bets, and earn real cash rewards, saving you time and money with every bet you make. Find the bets you want, not those distracting bets that seem too good to be true but rarely are. Best of all, withdraw your winnings in under 24 hours. So take control of your bets, because with Zen Sports, betting just got better. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and up and in Tennessee to bet.
Hey, it's Jared. Want to tell you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Hiller is keeping you chillin' all summer with special deals to keep you relaxed and happy this summer. Tackle those necessary home system replacements this month to take advantage of these special deals. When you purchase a select new HVAC system, you'll get 2 Yeti Trailhead camping chairs, a Yeti Panga 28L waterproof backpack, a Yeti Tundra 75, and 2 Yeti tumblers for free. And get special freebies on Yeti products with every new whole home generator or tankless water heater purchase. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Men, this is Evan Bass for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. If you're suffering with erectile dysfunction or other sexual health issues, you need to know that there is no one-size-fits-all treatment because everyone's made differently. That's why our urologists and medical providers offer a broader array of treatment options and can even combine or adjust treatments for greater effectiveness. ED can result from aging, low testosterone, prostate issues, underlying medical conditions, and more. And understanding why you have ED is the first step in treating the condition. That's why you need to know your numbers and understand what other factors might be contributing, and then work with an expert to treat it. And that's where we shine. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we have protocols that are effective in nearly 90% of cases, which means we'll likely find the right treatment for you and you can get your sex life back. So call us. Your first appointment includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. We have 2 offices to serve you, Midtown and Franklin.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra, results vary.
Being value conscious and getting the most for your money is so important these days, and that's why it's more important than ever to shop at Genesis Diamonds, the undisputed value leader.
Part of the education at Genesis Diamonds is we explain to you how we travel the world and purchase our diamonds, how we buy in bulk, we pay cash for our diamonds so we can save every possible percent to save you money on your diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds Vice President David Cooper.
There are no middlemen, there are no other wholesalers or dealers, so we cut out all of those extra added markups and pass those savings on to you.
When you combine that unmatched value with a totally no-pressure shopping experience, you know you're in the right place.
Because we do not work on commission, our sole purpose is to make sure you get exactly what you want. There's nothing in it for us personally, whether you spend $1,000 or $100,000.
That's why at Genesis, people often end up spending less than they had budgeted.
Our goal is to purely present you with options so you can choose exactly what you want.
The value you want, the experience you deserve. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025thegame and on Instagram at 1025thegame Nashville.
Hey!
Oh yeah, and like us on Facebook too. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Was last year a one-off, or is this
No.
just a preview of what's to come?
Yeah, I think, first of all, offensively, no, because the stats prove it out. His system proves it. He has unlocked one of the keys to having success in college football offensively. You know, we were fortunate enough, our ABC, ESPN crew, to spend the Orange Bowl lead up with him and call the Orange Bowl. And no, I don't believe it was a one-off, especially offensively. And then, obviously, you get recruiting momentum to fill in some things defensively. Are you going to have these same magical moments? I don't know. You can beat Alabama, like you got to play your A-plus game. They've got some things have to bounce your way. But I think the offense is there to stay. That's a philosophy. That's a scheme. That's a plan, and he executes it very well. I'm super high on Joe Milton.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask next.
So, yeah, I am. I think, you know, he's got one of these interesting careers, and I love guys that get a second chance. I think all American fans love the redemption story in the second act in sports because we all sit there and want a second chance on a lot of things in our life. And I think his attitude and his humility and gratitude and his sticking with something and being focused, you feel good about it. A guy who was the starting quarterback gives way to a guy who unexpectedly becomes the offensive player of the year. And then when he gets his chance, he goes out there in front of the whole nation, primetime Orange Bowl, and does what he did, and now is primed to have a big year. And obviously what's coming behind him with Nico is you have to be very bullish on the future of Tennessee for a lot of years to come, especially offensively.
That was Joe Tessitore, ESPN and ABC College Football. He says he's very high on Joe Milton. And now he called the Orange Bowl. Tennessee and Joe Milton against Clemson, and Joe Milton had a great game. Tennessee looked really good in that game. To be honest, I don't think I'm quite as high or nearly as high on Joe Milton as Joe Tessitore is.
Well, here's what I would look at in the reference of that offense. why was it so difficult to guard everything last year? Number one, Hendon Hooker had a tremendous passing year. Derek's going to tell you just how good. But also, Hendon Hooker would kill you if you got too far apart and there was space in the middle. He was great at knowing when to run. He had huge yards. As a rusher last year, 430 rushing yards. Now, remember in college, they subtract the numbers when you get sacked, which is stupid. Why haven't they changed that?
That is stupid. Doesn't make any
Change
sense.
the rule. Let's change the stats. Come on. Let's get over it. So you got 430 that year, and then the year before, 616. Joe Milton has never been that kind of runner. I think when you're defending, you are not defending Joe Milton as a runner the same way you had to account for him for Hendon Hooker. So, and then there's the whole thing that we've always, people loved on Twitter to, put out clips of Milton's throws
that
end up in
cannon.
Yeah,
he can throw an orange 100 yards downfield.
Exactly.
I'm sure you've seen that.
We
plenty
know,
of times.
and he gets, it probably motivates him, right? Because there's plenty of examples where he throws one that goes into the band.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So that's the
to
rep,
Nashville,
right? Can he be accurate enough, more accurate than he has been?
Yeah, well, he's going to have to be if this offense is going to work. If you look at Hendon Hooker and what he was able to do, he only threw, 5 interceptions in 2 years, over 40 touchdowns. That's a hell of a ratio. He is taking care of the football because when you have a high-powered offense like this, and if you look at Tennessee's offense last year, they only averaged 2 fewer points than that all-world offense the LSU had. And you're talking about first-rounders that were across the board on offense, from receiver to the quarterback, obviously to the running back. So that was a high-powered offense. But UT, with their offense, and they didn't even have nearly the personnel that LSU did 2 or 3 years prior, they only averaged 2 points less than LSU's.
Just couldn't quite get the 2
couldn't
points.
Couldn't quite get up there.
Bridge that gap.
Exactly.
Isn't that a shame?
But that's telling me that, as long as the quarterback takes care of the football, and that that offensive line is able to hold up just a tad bit, because the ball is going to be released very quickly. It's almost like a 1 or 2 read thing. We see it. We spread the defense out. They got to declare early, so I know right away where I'm going as a quarterback. So everything is predicated on whether Joe Milton can run this offense as efficiently as Hendon Hooker did, or damn near close to it, because he's going to have to. That's the only way this offense is going to work. If he doesn't, then you got to resort to putting in a freshman and see what he does. But I can't see this Josh Heupel offense going from averaging 46 points a game to not being able to score. They're going to score points.
They're going to score.
Yeah, they're going to score. They got to stop somebody every once in a while, and they were not able to do that at times last year.
I also equate it to. We saw this a lot in the Big 12 a few years ago when everybody was playing the spread offense, and it was routinely games 46-42. Those games, you're going to score.
Big 12 games.
You're going to score. But, are you going to get the key turnover? Are you going to cash in the red zone? It's not about exactly whether you average 46 or 41 or 39. It's in the context of playing that. How well does your defense play? What about the key turnovers at the key time? I remember Pat Sperduto's arena teams. That's what it was all about. I remember talking to the late Darrell Hammond. He was a great two-way player. He was like an arena football Hall of Famer. And he was talking, it's like a basketball game. The points are going to be up there. At the end of the game, both teams are going to have a lot of points. But, are you going to make the key interception or the key first down at the key time? That's where I think we're going to see the difference in Tennessee. Can Milton maintain that standard? Because Hooker was about as flawless as you can be. When you throw the ball as many times as they throw and you only throw 2 interceptions, that's making pretty good decisions when you get down to it.
When you throw 2 interceptions, period.
And only 3 the year before.
Yeah.
5 interceptions in 2 years as a starter.
Hendon Hooker was flawless, is a good word to use.
Yeah.
And the other thing with Joe Milton as well that I just simply cannot shake, he's lost a starting job twice in his career. Once at Michigan, which is why he transferred to Tennessee, and then at Tennessee when Hendon Hooker took over the starting job. And I can't quite shake that performance against Pitt that really cost Tennessee the game. And I know that we're over a year removed, almost 2 years removed from that. And I know that this is a really tough offense to grasp. It takes time. I know that the quarterback that he is now is probably a lot different, a lot better than the quarterback that he was when I saw that. But I just can't shake the fact that he lost a starting job twice, and now all of a sudden we're talking about him as a Heisman contender. And the reason why he lost the job twice is because he got injured. Got injured at Michigan, got injured at Tennessee. Can he stay healthy? I mean, Hendon Hooker was able to stay healthy until the second to last game of the season, and he tore his ACL. That's something that's kind of, defensive lineman falls on top of you. Injuries are probably going to happen. So can Joe Milton stay healthy long enough, and can he take care of the football? Because that's what Hendon Hooker was able to do.
All fair questions. To his credit, he has not thrown an interception in the games that he has played for Tennessee, Milton. So that's one good thing. And I think that offense, like you said, it becomes easy to read the defenses. You're probably not going to get fooled. You're probably not throwing into dangerous coverage very often. It's sort of ready-made for you to throw high percentage passes. So that's one thing that should keep that total down. So Josh Heupel, he knows how to operate going back to his days at UCF.
Exactly.
In that game of, hey, we're going to score a lot, they're going to score a lot, we're going to end up scoring more. The other thing is Joe Milton is 23 years old, right?
Yeah.
If he were playing a spring sport, he would be 24 for the season. He turns 24 in March. This is his 6th year. This is because of the COVID rules. This is his 6th year in college football. So, look, he's probably learned a lot since he was at Michigan even, right? Same thing with Hooker. Hooker was not the same guy at Tennessee that he was in Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I'm not so much worried about the injuries because this offense lends itself to keeping their quarterback healthy because they deliver the ball very quickly. They know exactly where they're going. They're precise in what they're doing. That's why we have a lot of these situations with their offense where things are spread out so far, from where the tackles are. Because what are we trying to do? We're trying to make the defense declare what they're doing. That helps me as a quarterback at releasing the football. Now I don't have to sit there and wait to read the defense and see what it's doing. Well, my offensive line may not be that good to protect. So we spread them out, make them declare. I get rid of the ball 1 or 2 seconds. I don't open more. I don't expose myself to injuries. Hendon Hooker got injured. Why? Because he chose to run and he chose to get outside the pocket. That may happen from time to time, but I think this offense lends itself to releasing the ball very quickly, not putting your quarterback in harm's way, and making the offensive line's job a little bit easier.
Best ability is your availability.
Absolutely.
Can you stay available? 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Mitch Light, college football writer for The Athletic, will join us coming up next. Josh Heupel at the podium in 30 minutes. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase is brought to you by Zen Sports. Start earning cash rewards on your bets today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee to bet. 102.5-106.3 The Game.
It's been an offseason of change for the Nashville Predators.
Still going to be a relatively young roster. Johansson's gone, Duchesne's gone.
The Nashville Predators are interested, potentially, in a Brett Pesce.
They did trade Ekholm, Granlund, Tanner Jeannot.
What's next for Smashville's team?
They want to get younger. They're going to have to move a piece.
We have you covered with every move on your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
3 days of racing, 3 days of music, one huge weekend event. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is not just a race or a festival, it's an experience. Multiple music stations with Flo Rida, Vince Neil, Chris Jansen, Gavin DeGraw, and more. Fast cars going over 200 miles an hour. And a family fun zone with inflatables, Ferris wheels, kids games, and kid-friendly food trucks. Tickets and premium hospitality are on sale now. Go to MusicCityGP.com for tickets and get ready to experience Nashville's premier speed and sound event.
Jasper's on West End Avenue is your neighborhood bar and restaurant. They offer a fun atmosphere with a game room, TVs, a large bar, lounge area, and patio seating, plus free parking. That's right, free parking on West End. Come into Jasper's today to enjoy their elevated bar fare and well-crafted cocktails. Happy hour Monday through Friday from 4 to 6, and now game night every second and fourth Thursday. Drop in anytime where you can win gift card prizes each week. That's Jasper's on West End Avenue, Nashville's place to gather, play, eat, and drink.
Sometimes you want a sure return on your investment. That's where CDs come into play. At F&M Bank, they've been providing smart choices to customers for over a century, including CDs that are a great way to save. You make a deposit and collect the earnings on your terms. Great rates, predictable results, and backed by the Federal Deposit Insurance Company. That's smart banking. Life is complicated. Banking shouldn't be. So go see them at one of their 20 locations across Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky, or online at myfmbank.com. F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
If you're drowning in IRS debt and can't afford to pay, then you need to take advantage of special IRS tax programs that are available and free yourself from IRS collection efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing throughout the country, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call the Community Tax Helpline at 800-587-5063. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back, or even if you have years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-587-5063 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-587-5063 for your free consultation and to see if you qualify. That's 800-587-5063.
Get a great deal on select Kubota equipment, the #1 rated tractor brand for durability and owner experience in the U.S. The versatile lineup is built to help you make the most of your land. Right now at participating dealers, get a Kubota compact tractor for 0 down, 0% APR for 84 months, plus save up to $800 on qualifying implements. Now through September 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com/disclaimers for full disclaimer.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series tonight against Jacksonville. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey Nashville, Trey Wingo here. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app. Joining us now is Mitch Light from The Athletic, part of our Game SEC media coverage, brought to you by Volunteer Hose and Gasket and Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Mitchell, welcome back to SEC Media Days. It's been a minute for you.
It has, and good to be here, guys. My second time this week came Tuesday. Basically, when Willie Donnick's here, I'm here. If he's not here, I've got no reason. But as I was
You're
telling,
not the first person to say that.
Yes. I don't know how many years it's been, but it's over 2 decades, my last appearance at SEC Media Days. And when I was there, I asked Steve Spurrier a question, probably the only question I ever asked at an SEC Media Days, about certain defensive back in the SEC at that point, Corey Chavis, who Willie remembers well.
Yes.
Played in the NFL for about 10 years. Do you remember Derek Mason, do you remember going up against Chavis? He played mostly Arizona.
Uh-huh.
And maybe he was All-Pro 1 year, I think, or made the Pro Bowl. Had a couple good years there. But did you ever come across him? Do you know him at all?
Yeah, I did. Corey, I think he ended up playing safety, right?
Oh, that's right.
He ended up playing safety. So I didn't get an opportunity to sort of go up against him, but he played against some of the defenses that we had to play against. He was a good player. He was a knowledgeable player. So much so I think he started doing some stuff.
Yeah, it's some NFL draft stuff.
Yeah.
And
he knew the game.
He had 8 interceptions one year for Minnesota, 2003. He played 11 years in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Not bad at all.
Yeah, he was doing CBS up until last year. He was doing color commentary for CBS Sports, not main CBS. The games on the Mountain West games. I think he did the He might have done the Vanderbilt Colorado State game a couple years ago. So
yeah,
that is a soundbite that I miss.
Yes,
Steve Spurrier.
Well, I was young. I was like 23 years old, and it was a scrum afterwards, and I was all nervous talking to Steve Spurrier, and I thought I was going to script the question and ask him about Corey Chavis, and I was doing a story on Corey Chavis, who was an all-SEC cornerback at Vanderbilt, and I was like, thought he was going to say, "Oh, who's Corey Chavis?" Never heard of him, but he answered it. He was good. It was a good.
All right. He probably wasn't expecting that.
Yes.
Among the questions he was going to get, but those were excellent Vanderbilt defenses.
Yes.
These were the best. I mean, Steve Spurrier, of course, that was his heyday, national championship. Vanderbilt defended them probably as well as 90% of the teams that they faced. The problem is they had zero offense at all. But remember, there was one game.
1997
Defense wins championships, Willie.
Yes.
1996.
Not that year. when 0-8 in the SEC finished first in the SEC in total defense, last in total offense. The game Willie's referring to, not to hijack the conversation here. Number one, Florida comes in with Danny Werfel at quarterback.
Heisman Trophy.
43-point favorites at Vanderbilt. It was 28-21 final. And I think Vanderbilt had a blocked punt for touchdown called back because someone was offsides there. But I always said, Danny, people ask me who's the best quarterback you've ever seen in person college level. I always say Danny Werfel. Who's the best you saw?
Oh, man. In person? Oh, goodness gracious.
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
You know what? When I was playing, I didn't pay attention to the quarterbacks because I'm thinking deep from a defensive standpoint.
Didn't you guys play the Nebraska team that just
it wasn't. It was really. I mean, their team. Just watching now that. Now, if you're asking me the team,
that was a team that beat Steve Spurrier's team in the national championship game.
That was the best.
Tommy Frazier
team that I had ever.
Well, some people say that's the best college team ever.
I'm saying across offense, defense, second string, third string. When they walked out of the locker room, no lie. When they walked out of the locker room, you thought that was an NFL team. Seriously. All these guys, big, huge, fast. And then once you get on the field with them, especially the first year we played them at State, man, it was like a track meet. And we wasn't a part of the track meet. I mean, Lawrence Phillips.
Someone's got PTSD.
Right.
A bunch of other guys.
And Lawrence Phillips, a whole bunch of memories.
He was a freshman that year. And I remember he took a pitch. I think it was Tommy Frazier at the time. He took a pitch and ran like 70 yards as a freshman. First carry in the game as a freshman. Down the line, 70 yards. I said, man, I don't know who's going to beat this team. This team, that's the best team I've ever seen. Played against, ever seen.
Those were.
Ever seen, period. Even in the pro level. Baltimore was good because their defense. But I'm talking about defense and offense. That's the best team football team I've ever played against.
That is always a great debate. Is the greatest teams of the last, 30, 40 years. It's hard to go back earlier, when the game was so different in the 70s. But that's
and it's crazy how many of them are in the past 5 to 10 years.
Well, I was going to say Joe Burrow, that 2019 LSU team. Some people say, but Joe Burrow is one of the best college quarterbacks I've seen.
But that was just from an offensive standpoint.
They gave up a lot of points.
Right. Yeah. Which is crazy because that was LSU's bread and butter for the longest time was their defense. But we've been talking about Tennessee. And I got a bone to pick with your colleague over at The Athletic, Joe Rexrode.
Oh, go pick away.
He said yesterday, we were discussing Tennessee. He said yesterday that Tennessee will make minimum 4 college football playoffs over the next 10 years.
Ooh. That's setting the bar pretty high, isn't it?
Isn't it? And it's a 12-team playoff, so it's a different dynamic.
But it doesn't start.
Minimum 40% of the next college football playoffs will involve Tennessee.
That's bold. It's not. If you put the over/under at 4.5, I would say under. If you put it under at 4, we'll see how the dynamics of the playoff works out in how many SEC teams. Because in theory, are there how many of the top 12 teams in the country will be SEC teams? It might be 5 or 6, or 7 even. But the math doesn't work out the way the automatic bids will go out. So, we'll get a feel after the first 2 or 3 playoffs, like how many teams from each league. There's just so much competition. Something I know we might get into in a minute, how so many teams have upward momentum, positive momentum. Tennessee's not the only program with positive momentum. I always joke the SEC, that every fan base, maybe with the exception of Vanderbilt, and you used to say Kentucky and Missouri, the fan base expects the national championship every year. These coaches
Welcome to the SEC.
Yeah, these coaches are paid to win national championships. So while it's easy to say Tennessee has a ton of momentum now, we could be here next year, 2 years, and there could be a different program that has all the momentum, and maybe Tennessee has a bunch of injuries and they go 7-5 this year. I'm not saying that will happen, but it's a bold statement, but I don't think it's crazy.
Is Joe counting this year before the playoff goes to 12
I don't think
teams?
he can be.
Well, I don't think
are
he
you
can
waiting
be.
until so you're looking a couple years into the crystal
I think
ball?
it's more of a
2024 to
program,
2034.
a program statement in a 12-team playoff.
Right.
See, that to me is assuming that they're going to stay on this upward, which is not a given.
Which is a massive
in this
assumption.
league.
Right.
Yeah. Go a little further with what you said, Mitch. There's usually 2, 3, 4 coaches where when they come to this, they kind of know it's on the line. They're on the hot.
Yeah.
They're on the hot seat, right? We don't know. But it does seem like right now this has been a fairly quiet week. There's not a lot of hot button topics. There's not a lot of coaches that go up to the podium without really feeling good about where they are right now, which is really unusual.
Yeah, and it just speaks to the momentum. It also speaks to a lot of turnover when you've got coaches in their first, second, third year. You're rarely on the hot seat. You know, you got hired because the previous guy got fired, and you're building.
Or you have an $85 million buyout.
Exactly. so yeah, like my point was, it's just the majority of fan bases. I was thinking about when Shane Beamer was up there. South Carolina fans are fired up that Shane Beamer's their head coach. Tennessee fans are fired up that Josh Heupel is their head coach. Lane Kiffin has had some ups and downs. I'd say mostly ups, but I'm not going to speak for all Ole Miss fans. But when you guys agree that,
They're glad
despite the flirtation they're probably a little upset he flirted with Auburn last year, but they're glad he's their coach. So I just think the league, I'm not saying the league's never been in a better spot. I just think there's so many programs that have a lot going for it. You can even say Vanderbilt, Clark Lee, winning those 2 SEC games and the off-the-field stuff going on. I don't know if there's any Vanderbilt fans that are sitting there saying, oh, Clark Lee, I don't know if he's the guy for the job. So I just think it's a unique spot. You'd have to go back and look and take snapshots every 3 or 4 years and see. But, yeah, I agree to your point. There's not really here – will every coach who's here this year be at SEC Media Day next year? No, it rarely works that way, but you can't sit here and say, is Billy Napier going to get fired? No, he's not going to get fired, but, he might be the guy in the hot seat next year.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Now, how should Vandy be judged this year? Because obviously we see what Clark Lee is doing here in Nashville with that program, and we know it's going to take a lot. It's just baby steps with them. They won 2 games last year in the SEC. So do they have to win 4 games this year? How should we judge this team this upcoming year?
Well, the luxury that he has, and I think from most of the fan base, is that, he got his contract extension. Yes. They know it's a process. And I always say, especially in college football, if we're just talking SEC record, but not every, let's go regular record, not every 8-4 is created equally. You can go 8-4 and have a bunch of 1, 2, 3-point wins, or you can go 8-4 and a bunch of blowouts. You got to look at who you played and how you played against them. So my point being that Vanderbilt could have the very same record this year. They could go 5-7 and 2-6, and you can say, yeah, they made some progress. If you really want to poke a hole in last year, is they got blown out by the good teams. They played, other than Kentucky, who wasn't ranked after they lost to Vanderbilt. All the ranked teams they gave up, it's 55 points, 52 points, did not belong on the field. So Derek, I guess to specifically answer your question, that's where you'd like to see some progress. Maybe even more so than the overall record is can you play better against the really good teams on your schedule? Not necessarily no one's expecting them to beat Georgia, but can you not be down 28-0 at the end of the first quarter?
Right, where it's running the scrimmage, just keep the clock running.
Throw the third string
kind of thing. That's what it was.
But there's also the theory
historically Vanderbilt, you can see some teams like that ended up maybe not with the greatest record. I think of Jerry DiNardo's teams. He had a couple teams that were right in every game, but they still ended up 5-6.
Right, so that's how that staff will look at progress. It's you look at the whole season, and they know the games they were in, the games they weren't. They always pointed to the South Carolina game last year. I forgot the final score. It might have been 38-24. And I watched it, and I got it played okay, but still got blown out at the end. They pointed back to that game. We knew after that game, maybe it's coach speak, because then they went on to win the next 2 SEC games. We knew that was kind of a turning point in our locker room. So coaching staffs know when they're making progress and when they're not making progress. So I just think it's sort of like just a holistic approach. Are they getting better?
I also want to go back to one thing that you said, that the league has never been in a better place. And I think that's you can make a very fair argument for that. I think there's also a lot of SEC fans that would say the league's never been in a worse place with it where it is, with NIL, with conference realignment. But it does feel like all of the off-season talking points, conference realignment, whatever it might be, the business side of the league, the on-the-field product, at least to me, has never felt like it's been compromised.
Yeah, that's kind of been it's funny you phrased it a good way, Caroline, because that's kind of my approach in college sports. And I don't love all the stuff going on as a college fan, and I don't love the free agency. If you guys might have been on the air, Lane Kiffin's brutally honest up there. He's like, I take advantage of it because we're allowed to, but the transfers, it's bad. Like, all this stuff's bad for college sports fans. We all acknowledge it's good the guys are getting paid and all that. But I have always been able to, once Saturday comes or once Thursday night comes, turn on the TV, sit on the couch all day and eat it up and love it. And to your right, like the atmospheres, the product, the presentations on TV and everything about it, college football's never been better on Saturday. Monday through Friday in the offseason, the sport has a lot of work to do.
Yeah, the stresses of coaches, the number of layers. Mike Vrabel on his Bussin' with the Boys, which is a very long interview, they asked him about that Ohio State. Remember Joe Rexroad was like, hey, he could go to Ohio State. He was like, I was never going to touch Ohio State. And he listed all those things that coaches have to do at the college level that you don't have to worry about in the pros. There's pluses and minuses. But Mitch, too, your colleague David Ubben did a fan poll. I think that was reflected in that, right? Despite all these issues, and I'm one of those, it's like, come on, why are we doing this? And this is what's best for the kids, all these things. It's the same thing. People love the product when they turn on the TV.
Yeah,
on Saturday.
Ratings are great, and everything about it is great. And we're as sports fans, we're able to just kind of turn our attention to one day. And I think the Athletic, our new podcast that we're rebranding and have a newsletter, it's just came out yesterday that it's called Until Saturday. That's the name of it. So that's the way we're going to live. We might complain about things on Monday, but then Saturday comes along and. Are you ever, you could be so disgruntled about everything, but on Saturday you're going to watch LSU football, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what we're getting to the point in the off season where we just need football. Like when we're breaking down the nuances of Congress and NIL,
college football is the shortest season.
We need football.
Yeah. It's basically 3 months. It goes into the bowl season, but the regular season is 3 months. And really, it's for 80% of the teams or even less, it's 2 months because you build yourself up in the offseason. You get so psyched about your team, and then it's late October, and they're 2-6, and you're like, this sucks. I'm not watching the rest. That's why you turn a game when it's cold, like in a stadium that might have 85,000 people on in mid-September, early November. There's 41,000, and they're not into it. It's just it's easy to fall out of favor with your team as well.
It's a fickle little fan base. College football
Imagine that.
Mitch Light, appreciate you for joining us. Your son at Wake Forest. If he would like a Tommy Tanks signed jersey, I would be happy to oblige.
He does not acknowledge his existence. I've never, you as Willie knows, and I know we got to go. You feel pain for your kids. You just want them to be happy. I'm sitting here on the couch rooting for Wake Forest, and he's over there, sort of where Willie is, and just watching.
Yeah.
And the ball's hit, and it's gone.
It's just the.
I've been upset when my teams lose. I wanted to cry for my son.
We'll send him my best.
But that's
Genuinely.
what being a sports fan is all about.
Right.
Is pain. Yeah. He's a freshman in college. He didn't deserve that. You gotta suffer with your team. Again, I know we gotta. Wake almost beat Clemson in week 3 this year.
Right.
They were ready to storm the field. I was watching with some friends. I jokingly said, he doesn't deserve this. He doesn't get to storm the field in his 3rd game on campus. Like Willie and I had to wait until my senior year at Vanderbilt. Yeah, my senior year at Vanderbilt beat #1 Kentucky in hoops. Like I worked for 4 years for that.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of being a sports fan is it's pain.
Right.
But it's collective pain.
Yeah.
We all hurt together at some point or another.
Exactly.
Mitch Light, appreciate you for stopping by. We'll chat with you soon.
Yep.
Awesome.
Talk to you guys later.
We'll react to what Mitch had to say coming up next. Plus, I have to get into it. I want to get Willy and D-Mace's thoughts on what Joe Rexroad had to say about the Tennessee Volunteers over the next 10 years, and we will get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mace, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
when it comes to Nashville sports.
Locking up Jeffrey Simmons, clearly that was a priority for them.
He knows his stuff.
A little bit good, a little bit bad.
And knows how to push the right buttons.
He's coming off an ACL tear, and he's 25 years old, so you cannot ignore that.
Join Outkick's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company. Withrow.
What I hate more than anything is people that are phony and not true to themselves.
Is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture, eat strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Hey, it's Jared for PhD Weight Loss. I love the PhD Weight Loss program, and I've blown past the 20-pound mark. And I've done it all while enjoying the summer and traveling on vacations. I love the PhD program because it's simple for me to understand and to activate. And quite frankly, because it works. I feel so much better about myself because I feel in control of my weight, and I get excited when I continue to see my progress. If you're someone who has struggled to lose weight, go online to myphdweightloss.com and check it out for yourself. Learn about the program, the coaching, and the guarantee. If you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight by the end of your program, PhD will continue to coach you for free until you do. That's PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers organization and fans, online at myphdweightloss.com.
The Parker Store at 1909 Nolensville Road in Nashville is the Parker Factory Authorized Store for your Parker hydraulic, pneumatic, water, and chemical hose needs. They stock metric tubing and hose connections to 42 millimeters in size, and they'll fabricate while you wait up to 6,000 PSI hydraulic hoses in a 2-inch size. Call the Parker Store at 615-248-8245 for all the Parker requirements you have. The Parker Store, 1909 Nolensville Road.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, it's John Tesh. You want to know how to get better rates, better coverage, and better service on your home and auto insurance? Work with Zander Insurance. I know it's a big promise, but this team delivers. They've been around for almost 100 years and have earned the privilege of representing dozens of insurance companies so they can shop, compare, and find you the best options available. More options mean more savings, and in many cases, better coverage. But it doesn't stop there. Each year, they review your coverage to make sure your rates stay competitive. Nobody else does that. And when it comes to service, just check out their ratings. Zander is one of the top agencies in the industry, and they earned that spot with their commitment to making sure their clients are taken care of like family. That's what sets them apart. Go to Zander.com for quick online quotes or call 800-356-1780 for that personal touch that you've been missing.
If it's important to Nashville,
I'll put it out right now.
It's important to Jared Stillman.
Like, that's it.
He's not afraid to ask the tough questions.
Something is going on, and the question is, what does it mean?
Or give the strong opinion.
And just needed the bozo offensive coordinator to stop ruining the quarterback.
Stillman and Company. Weekdays at 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
He said yes.
Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
He said yesterday that Tennessee will make minimum 4 college football playoffs over the next 10 years.
Ooh. That's setting the bar pretty high, isn't it?
Isn't it? And it's a 12-team playoff, so it's a different dynamic.
But it doesn't start.
Minimum 40% of the next college football playoffs will involve Tennessee.
That's bold. It's not. If you put the over/under at 4.5, I would say under. If you put it under at 4, we'll see how the dynamics of the playoff works out in how many SEC teams. Because in theory, are there how many of the top 12 teams in the country will be SEC teams? It might be 5 or 6, or 7 even. But the math doesn't work out the way the automatic bids will go out. So, we'll get a feel after the first 2 or 3 playoffs, like how many teams from each league. There's just so much competition. Something I know we might get into in a minute, how so many teams have upward momentum, positive momentum. Tennessee's not the only program with positive momentum. I always joke there's, the SEC, that every fan base maybe exception of Vanderbilt, and you used to say Kentucky and Missouri, the fan base expects a national championship every year. These coaches
Welcome to the SEC.
Yeah, these coaches are paid to win national championships. So while it's easy to say Tennessee has a ton of momentum now, we could be here next year or 2 years, and there could be a different program that has all the momentum, and maybe Tennessee has a bunch of injuries and they go 7-5 this year. I'm not saying that will happen, but it's a bold statement, but I don't think it's crazy.
That was Mitch Light from The Athletic. Appreciate him for joining us in the last segment. So yesterday on Jared versus Joe, this was a topic that came up because Joe said over the next 10 years, he thinks that Tennessee will make minimum 4 college football playoff appearances, and I thought that was wild for a team that's had one really elite year and still didn't make the college football playoff. What do we think?
Okay. I need clarification from Joe. Maybe we need to text Joe. So I'm assuming he means when the playoff is expanded to 12, which is not for another couple years.
And in 2024. So I'll give him that grace that he meant 2024.
So we're skipping ahead this year. This year doesn't even count. He's starting next year.
I'll give Joe that grace period.
Okay. Because that's also a leap of faith that they're going to stay on this plane, which is not a given, right?
Over the next 11 years, 12 years.
Number 2, that also coincides with Texas and Oklahoma coming into the league, right? Mm-hmm. So now you have a 16-team league. You have one automatic bid for the SEC out of the 12. There are what? We think 6 at-large bids?
6.
So let's
for
just
6
say,
conference
let's say
champions.
for argument's sake, that there's an average of 4 SEC teams in the playoff every year. Is that about right? Some years it might be 5.
I think it's fair.
Right? But let's say it's 4.
4 on average.
So that means in a 16-team league, you got to be one of the top 4 in 4 out of those 10 years. That's not – it may sound like that's doable, but when you're talking about Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, Alabama, you know what I'm saying, like LSU, you could be really good, and not make it 4 times.
Yeah.
So I think
and
that's a
minimum.
I would
4
go
times.
under. If the over under, Mitch put it well. If the over under is 4.5, I'm definitely going under. But of course 4 would hit. 4 would be in there. So if it's 3.5, I still might take the under. 3 would be outstanding. If you're a Tennessee fan, you know you're going to make it 3 times in 10 years. That would be huge.
And that's not even a Tennessee-specific thing. Betting on a single team over the next 10 years, we know this is a crazy. As Josh Heupel walks by, hello, we're talking about you. It's too hard to project 10 years into the future because over the last the previous years, would we have said that Alabama would have won as many national titles as they would have? I don't know. So I can't project that far in advance, really, for any team, much less a team that's had far and beyond its best year in the last 15 years, just one season this past year.
Well, I think I'm with you, both of you, and Mitch. If the over-under is 4.5, I'm going under, but that would put it right at 4. You're thinking in the next year, every other year, they would make the college football playoffs.
But over the last 10 years, let's say over the last 10 years, if there was a 12-team playoff, Tennessee only would have made it once.
Yeah, they would have made it once.
And I know the next 10 years are projected to be much brighter than they were in the last 10 years, but still.
And I think that's what he's basing it off of. He's basing it off the quarterback that they have in Nico that everyone believes is all-world. And if he lives up to the hype, if he's close to or lives up to it, then that does put UT in a catbird seat as far as them getting a spot in the college football playoffs when they do expand. We don't see, and we talked about this 2 segments ago before Mitch came on, this offense, because of who's calling the plays, because of his philosophy and everything else, they're going to score points. So if we sort of take that into account, they're going to score points. This quarterback that is all world, if he really comes on the way they say he will, and then you figure the defense is going to get a little bit better here and there, this team should have an opportunity within the next 10 years when the college football expands in that 10-year period. They should make it.
But we're talking about 10 years. That's probably 4 or 5 quarterbacks.
Yeah, it is. But all you
That's
need,
hard.
But all you need is one guy to jumpstart it to success. And Hendon Hooker jump-started this success. And then once you start getting these other quarterbacks that are prolific quarterbacks in college, you're going to be able to go out there and get that 5-star quarterback that you may not have gotten in previous years. Because what are they looking at? They're looking at past success at that position.
Momentum's huge, but how many of those years of the 10 will Josh Heupel be the coach?
Yeah,
Law of averages says maybe 6. I mean, that's
Tennessee fans probably hope 10 because that means we're winning a whole
but
lot of
10
games.
is, but 10 is not. It's not far-fetched to say at a program like UT, as long as they're winning 8, 9, 10 games a year.
You're not getting in. You're not getting in with 8.
Huh?
You're not getting in with 8.
No. I'm saying as
why
far
get
as
rid of him?
Yeah. Why get rid of him? Who else are you going to find that has been if he's consistently, let's just say if he's consistently winning you 10 games, because 10 games may not necessarily get you in.
Maybe not.
Depending on what other teams are doing across other conferences.
But speaking of Josh Heupel, we do have to get to him at the podium,
Okay.
so we will get to Josh Heupel live and in its entirety coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
The spring menu is here at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel, featuring their signature cast iron pie with herb roasted chicken, English peas, carrots, potato, simple greens, and a toasted biscuit crumble topping. Or garden succotash with snap peas, black-eyed peas, roasted peppers, sweet corn, tomato, and caramelized onion. Or try the steak fritas with pan-seared ribeye. Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel, open daily till 2 with brunch Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 7 till 2.
AM radio provides always-on news, sports, talk, traffic, and weather reports. And it's also a vital service that provides important emergency information when your community needs it most. Tell Congress you need AM radio to stay in your car. Because when cell phones and the internet are down, this free emergency service is critical. And when you don't have electricity, radio in the car is often your only lifeline. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series tonight against Jacksonville. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUZ HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
And a score!
You can run different offenses.
The doors on the board.
Off the field, on the field.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mace.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mace, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Tennessee head football coach Josh Heupel is at the podium now, so we will send it to Josh Heupel.
As I was getting ready for today, just started writing down some notes last night and really started to reflect just on the past 2 years and what has transpired inside of our program at our university and, where we've come in such a short amount of time. When I took over 2 years ago, there was so much uncertainty that surrounded our program in late January. And because of the connection and accountability and love and trust that we've built inside of the building with our players and staff, we've been able to climb relatively quickly. But to go back to that time, we're a program that entered that fall with only 65 scholarships, the uncertainty of an investigation that was taking place on our campus, I said in a room just like this 2 years ago that it would be a speed bump for the program, our football program. And a few days ago, we found out that that certainly was the case. We've navigated it in such a positive way because of the leadership that we have. Phenomenal leadership on our campus, from President Boyd to Chancellor Plowman to our athletic director. We've been transparent and real and been able to close that narrative on our program and move forward. And I'm not sure that there's a better time to be involved. You look at the trajectory of this football program, what's happened over the last 2 years and where we're going. The energy and excitement that surrounds our building every day, the energy that surrounds our fan base, Vol Nation across the country, but also the success that's happening in each and every sport that resides inside of our athletic department. Phenomenal leadership with coaches and great student athletes that do things the right way. Our program's been player-driven from the very beginning. You guys have heard me say that before. It always will be. I think great seasons, championship seasons happen because of the leadership and the accountability and connection that happens inside of the locker room. As I look back on our past success, that doesn't happen. I talked about, the 35 guys that left our program through the transfer portal before or right after I took over. We had a lot of guys that stayed, that first year 65 scholarship guys. Those guys that chose to stay, that were connected and cared about the Power T, that 21 and 22 class, are going to be revered and remembered in an unbelievably unique way because they rebuilt the cornerstones of Tennessee football for the future. And that ends with an Orange Bowl win last year that we're certainly excited about. Parlayed itself into the success that we've had in the NFL draft over the last 2 years. 10 draft picks over the last 2 years, one of the highest numbers in the country. Last year, 5 guys drafted in the top 3 rounds, which is second in the country. A lot of really unique things that are happening with their future inside of the game, but also what they're doing outside, the impact that they've had inside of our community. We've reset a team record every semester that I've been there. Last semester we finished with a 3.17 team GPA. Our kids are doing it right and having a lot of fun competing together on a daily basis. Fortunate to bring 3 tremendous ambassadors for Tennessee football here today. Joe Milton, Omari Thomas, and Jacob Warren. Omari and Jacob are residents of this state. They've grown up with the Power T being a symbol inside of this border. Joe obviously is a great leader and ambassador for our program. The tough thing about only choosing 3 guys is you only get to choose 3. We have a lot of great guys that are great leaders inside of our program that are a part of our leadership council. They weren't fortunate to be here or I couldn't bring with us, but they are also great representatives of our program. Really, a lot of special moments from a year ago as we look back on the 22 season. A lot of special moments, things that our fan base will remember forever. The players inside of the locker room will remember forever. At the same time, fell short of a lot of the goals that we had set for our program. And I'm really excited and proud of what our players have done since they've gotten back on campus in late January. Their ability to reset and refocus and be ready to go accomplish a mission together. Individually grow, but collectively get ready to go accomplish a mission. It's a group that's extremely hungry. They want more, they expect more, and we're certainly excited about embarking on this 23 season. Accountability and consistency in that has been one of the main things that we've focused on this year. In this conference, you don't get any redos. You better show up every single Saturday afternoon or evening. You're going to play great players, great coaches, and you got to be ready for those moments at home or on the road. And through that, we've tried to increase our leadership and ownership from within our program. I talked about how important that is to me. I think that's where championship seasons lie. And the second thing is we've tried to become more physical. And when I say that, everybody thinks about the line of scrimmage, but it's really at every position and every person inside of our program, continuing to grow in that way so that we have an opportunity to be the most physical football team on the field every Saturday. A ton of excitement that surrounds our program, 71,000 season tickets sold. The energy is real inside and outside of our program. But as I said at the end of the bowl game, the best is yet to come for Tennessee football. Excited about this journey with this group of guys in this 23 season, and I don't know that there's ever been a better time to be involved. So with that, I'm going to open it up for questions.
If you have a question, raise your hand. Price, Arizona, or Alexis will get a microphone to you. Please give your name and affiliation and stand up, please.
Thank you.
Okay, we will start up here on the front row, right here to our right.
Hey, Coach Heupel, Brady Penn, Volunteer Country. So with Hendon Hooker, you had a transfer that came in, had some success at the quarterback position. Now you've got Joe at quarterback, who's a transfer himself. And I know you saw that growth with Hendon. Talk a little bit about what it's been like for you to watch the growth from Joe.
Yeah, I think, one of the great stories in college football in the era of the transfer portal is, his trust and ability to recognize areas that he can continue to grow in and trust the people around him, that we have his best interests at heart, understand that within our scheme he's going to have an opportunity to do everything that he wants to, which is be one of the best players inside of college football. And through that process, over the last, 18 to 24 months, he's continued to grow in his comfort of who he is, what he's about, how he wants to approach and attack every single day. How he wants to grow as a football player, meaning fundamentally at the quarterback position, along with understanding offensive and defensive schemes so that he can put his eyes in the right spot, get his body in the right spot to be consistently accurate with the football. And then how he wants to impact his teammates. Nobody inside of our program was surprised by the success that he had when he got his opportunity last year as a starter. He played extremely well when he got into football games throughout the course of the season. But his preparation, his urgency, how he practiced, all those things led himself to everybody inside of our building believing that he was going to play at that type of level. And he's got a lot more out there. He's had a great offseason for 15 practices in spring ball, did a great job of navigating the pocket, being extremely accurate with the football. I'm really excited to get back on the grass with him during the course of training camp. I believe he's poised to have a great 23 season.
Coach, we'll go over to my left and your left, second row. Eric.
Eric Bailey with the Tulsa World. Josh, you've been around college football your entire life. I was just curious, what does it mean to you to be on the College Football Hall of Fame ballot? And what do you think your players know about your playing career and also the national championship that you won at Oklahoma?
Yeah, they don't know enough about my playing career. Day one in training camp, I'm going to make sure we put a couple highlights up there. None of them of me running around either, by the way. It's a great honor to be looked at in that way, to be on the ballot, to be potentially a part of the Hall of Fame. A year ago, got an opportunity to recognize one of our teammates, Roy Williams, that got a chance to go win. Special player, had such a huge impact on the game, and certainly what we did there at Oklahoma. Those things only happen, though, because of the players that I got an opportunity to be in the locker room with every single day. Forever grateful to all of those guys, everybody on the offensive side of all the 5 offensive linemen, but everybody on that team. It was a special team, and, it's certainly made a huge impact in my life. Part of why I'm up here today, to be honest, and so forever indebted to those guys and very appreciative, but humbled by that recognition as well.
Okay, we'll stay over on that same side on the aisle, far out.
Hey, Josh, Tyler Palmatier with the Oklahoman. A lot of Oklahoma fans, they remember your time very fondly and have followed you along as you become a head coach and watched your career. And I know that relationship with OU is a little complicated, but what was it like seeing, Oklahoma on the schedule in 2024?
Yeah, the relationship with Oklahoma really isn't complicated. I got nothing but great memories of the people and, my time there. I certainly do. And it's a huge, I got a chance to talk about Mike Leach a few minutes ago backstage and in an interview. And, everybody there helped shape who I am and where I'm at today. And still got a lot of great friends and teammates that live back there. So, the opportunity to go back to Oklahoma, I wish they were coming to Knoxville first, but I say that jokingly, but looking forward to that opportunity. That's a long ways down the road, man. Focused on 23, but that'll be a unique day in my career, obviously, to go back there.
Coach, we'll go down the center aisle about 3/4 of the way back.
Hey, Coach. Christian Skelton with Fox Sports Knoxville. You've been able to retain your entire coaching staff aside from Cody Burns and Alex Golish since you've been on campus. How big is stability in your coaching staff for your program?
Yeah, you try to create a culture that coaches want to be a part of. They feel like they are part of the process. You want to create a culture where families get a chance to be a part of the process as well. I grew up the son of a coach, and those are the greatest memories of my childhood. And so I think it's really important that they're a part of it. And if you do those things and you have the resources that we have at Tennessee, you're able to have some stability within your staff, which is vitally critical to your players. Them understanding what they're walking into every single day, not having to rebuild an entire relationship from the ground up. We've been able to replace those guys, and you want staff to grow too, right? Like Alex will do a great job down at South Florida. I want guys to get head jobs from where we're at. But guys aren't just leaving to take another job either. And so we've actually been able to promote from within because they were the right guys. There's so much consistency. All the things that we were navigating as you take over a program and in year one and year two, I think it was vitally important that we've been able to have that. And it's a big part of our continued growth this offseason here in 23.
Coach, we're going to go in front of me about 3/4 of the way back.
Yeah, Coach, Joey Knight with the Tampa Bay Times. Could you expand on, you said you feel Alex will be a great head coach. What are his traits? Why do you think he'll be a great head coach?
Competitive, willing to work. I think those are two traits that drive you every minute of the day to continue to help your program grow. You look at that. It's where the starting blocks are, in my opinion. And then he's got a great ability to communicate. And he's hired a lot of really good people. Some of them were in our building a year ago, some young staff that will be great coaches.
Teresa Walker, the Associated Press. Josh, in these days, you're almost in a rare situation where you've got a quarterback you had now going into your third season. He's been here. With the transfer portal, is it challenging? And how grateful are you that you're not having to deal with getting a quarterback up to speed out of the portal and get them up to speed in your offense all before the season starts? And how nice is it to have Joe in this situation?
Yeah. It is rare that you're able to keep quarterbacks inside of your quarterback room. The days of having 4 or 5 quarterbacks consistently, I think those are probably not real anymore. Guys want to have the opportunity to play and compete early. I think it's rare that a young man like Joe is able to sit back and trust the people around him that we have his best interest at heart. Recognize the areas that he can and needs to grow in to become the player that he's capable of, and also know that if I stick this thing out and I compete hard every single day, I'm going to grow, and in what we do offensively, going to be able to do the things that I wanted to inside a college football landscape. Those are rare things, and it takes a really mature guy, which Joe has proven to be.
Coach, we'll go here right here in the middle of the front row.
Coach, Brooks Austin with Dogs Daily. Being an offense that prioritizes pace, I'm curious your thoughts on the new rule change with the clock no longer stopping on first downs. And additionally, there's a potential rule with, the hash marks maybe aligning themselves with the NFL. You also prioritize space. I'm interested in your thoughts on that potential change.
The clock rule at the end of the first half, I think everybody's going to be playing in it the same way. I don't think it's going to have a dramatic different effect on us versus another offense. How you manage your timeouts might be a little bit different at the end of regulation or at the end of the half. All in all, we'll see what the numbers play out to be, but there's a series of the game that's probably taken away in general for every team because of some of the clock rules, but we'll see how that plays out during the course of the year.
Coach will go in straight in front of me about 3/4 of the way back.
Coach, Tim Buckley with the Daily Memphian in Memphis. What does it mean to the interior of your defense to have Omari Thomas not consider going into the draft? And what does his personality bring to your locker room?
Omari is a guy that loves to have fun. He's got great energy every single day. He's become a really strong leader in being able to command guys, and that can be positively. It can be trying to get them to go accomplish the things that they need to in the weight room or on the practice field. He's got a great voice inside of our locker room. As I said, a tremendous leader. Vitally important for us as we continue to try to take steps on the defensive side of the football. A year ago, we took a massive jump in our ability to defend the run. Omari and the guys that we brought back a year ago were a huge part of that. Expect all of those guys to make another jump. They did a great job in spring ball, fundamentals, technique, consistency from play to play, day to day. And one of the other areas that we've had to improve upon is the ability to affect the passer with our front four, not just bringing pressure. We need that because of situational football. We got to get better on third downs, third and long in particular. And I thought those guys did a great job this spring. Coach Garner, Coach Eckler, what those guys have done up front. Really happy and pleased and excited to get to training camp with them.
Coach, we'll go back over here to the middle section on the right along the aisle.
Hi, Coach. Right here.
Over here.
Sorry. Travis Galey with OrangeBloods.com. With Texas coming into the league now, which school has the real claim to being able to call itself UT?
There's only one real UT. One right shade of orange.
We'll go all the way to the back, all the way in the left-hand side, back of the room.
Yeah, Coach. Edgar Thompson, the Orlando Sentinel. How much of a catalyst was the Florida game, given the history of the series, recent history that is, in the rivalry, to you guys' season last year?
Catalyst, yes, at that point in the season, but every season there's steps that you have to take, and in some ways there's benchmarks, but there's opportunities for growth. And I thought throughout the course of the football season last year, we continued to get better a majority of the season, and that's what good teams do. The Florida win was a big win, absolutely, for our fan base as much as anything, meaning in recent years we hadn't had the same amount of success as we would have liked to. But for our players, there was great confidence going into it, and yes, great confidence coming out of it as well.
Okay, we'll go to the middle section, right in front of the camera, all the way towards the back.
Hey, Rob Brown, Sideline Sports, Memphis. What's moving the needle more in college football now from when you played coming out of South Dakota, offensive or defensive coordinators, and what are the expectations of a defense against an offense like yours?
Well, my expectation for the defense that we're playing isn't for them to have a whole lot of success, but that's my viewpoint. In football, you got to play all three phases together. Offense, defense, and special teams. And at the end of the day, we're always trying to find a way to be +1. That can be 3-2 or whatever it needs to be. And at the end of the day, every side's got to grow together.
Coach, we'll go over here to our right-hand side, over here on the far right section.
Hey, Coach.
Over right there we go.
Steve Moulton, WZZN out of Huntsville, Alabama. I hope you're doing well. Wanted to ask about tampering. That has certainly been a subject that's been brought up quite a bit here lately. How big of an issue is it, and what would be a good starting point to alleviate this issue?
How big of an issue it is, I don't know. I think there's so many people that are involved in the recruitment of players. Could be high school coaches, could be workout facilities, 7-on-7 coaches, whatever. There's so many different dynamics that go into it. I don't know how you stop the communication completely at any one point. So I don't have a silver bullet for that issue, similar to a lot of other issues that maybe we're trying to navigate inside of college football. But there's a lot of smart people that are working on finding answers to those things.
Coach, we'll stay on the same side over on the right-hand side in front of the SEC logo.
Jacob Goins, ESPN 106.7 in Auburn. Besides wins on the football field, what's a goal or goals for you as a head coach at the University of Tennessee?
Standard at Tennessee is to win championships. It's pretty clear. I think we're top 10 in the history of college football in wins, first-round draft picks, bowls, bowl wins. The standard is to compete at the highest level and win championships. For us, that starts in the Eastern Division, which everybody knows that there's a lot of good football that's played in that division.
Okay, Coach, we'll stay on that same side in the front row, right here.
Coach Dan Harrelson, Ballswire. Speaking of recruiting, obviously it's a big part of the game. Brian Kelly mentioned this week that in the future he thinks AI will be a driving force for intriguing options, you know, trying to see what player profiles out there that kind of fit what you want to do offensively, defensively. What's your opinion on that going forward?
AI is infiltrating in so many different areas, from business, I'm sure in sport too. Eventually becomes a resource probably for everybody inside of college football. You know, how quickly that partakes inside of our program, I can't give you an answer on, but I'm sure that at some point it will.
Stay in that second section, 2 rows back, just right behind.
Hey Josh, Andy Witchery with On3. The Knoxville News Sentinel reported that the Tennessee Attorney General may have used the NIL law in the state to threaten to sue the NCAA and maybe prevent a bowl ban. I know there's a different regime, but what is it like to have the state AG behind the program and willing to support the school's athletes?
Well, I said it earlier when I opened up in my opening remarks. Just, you know, our administration and their willingness to fight for innocent student athletes. You know, I mentioned the 65 scholarships players walking into that first season because there was huge hurdles in our first 2 years to get to this point that we've had to climb out of. And, you know, the easiest thing would have been for our administration and for me too is to take a bowl ban in year 1. But that wasn't right. The guys that were left were innocent guys and new staff. You know, there's nobody left from administration in our athletic department to the football side of it, football staff to our players that was really involved. And so it was right to compete and give those guys an opportunity to fulfill or have an opportunity to fulfill all the things that they wanted to inside of a college football season for those guys that were going out. And you know, appreciate our administration and everybody fighting for those guys.
Okay, we have one right up here, Arizona. Come up right here on the front aisle, second row. Bob.
Hey Josh, Bob Holt, Arkansas Democrat Gazette. How you doing? I had a two-parter. If you forget the second part, Kevin will help you remember. He's good at that. Okay. I know you talked a lot about Joe already, and I know he was experienced before the Orange Bowl. But how big was it for him to have the kind of game he did for him, for the team, everybody? And then you mentioned the investigation in your opening remarks. How good is it just have that, some closure to that, have it behind you?
Yeah, for Joe, I think it was solidified all the work that he had put in, that he would go out and perform and play. It was proving himself right as much as anything. It wasn't proving anybody wrong. It was about proving himself right. And it was great for him. It was great for the guys around him to see that hard work does pay off and take advantage of your opportunities and be prepared when it comes. The second part of your question was what I'm going to ask.
How it felt after it's been resolved.
Yeah, the NCAA stuff. You know, for our current roster, they really hadn't thought about it or focused on it very much. I can tell that in the way that the team meeting went after the news came out. I was out of town, so we had to do it virtually after their workouts, which was right after the news came out. But you know, for how we handle recruiting, you know, the guys that signed with us in the last 18 to 24 months that trusted what we were saying to them, the transparency of the dialogue that we had with them, it was unbelievably satisfying to get over that hump. You're not dealing with unknowns now. You're not dealing with other programs that are beating you up and in some ways sensationalizing what's going to happen. I was able to have great trust in what our administration was talking to us about. We were, you know, consistent and clear in that messaging to our recruits. And that's why, you know, we've been able to recruit at a really high level. But it's great to have it in the rearview mirror, not something that you're driving by all the time.
Coach, we'll go right in front of my table here, second row on the aisle.
Coach Heupel, Drew DeArmond, WZZN Radio, Huntsville, Alabama. I wanted to ask you about Squirrel White from my state. He had a big Orange Bowl, and you guys have done a great job developing Cedric Tillman, going on to the NFL, and now Jalen Hyatt. Talk about his future, and he really kind of stepped up in that bowl game when both those guys didn't play.
Yeah, young player that we knew was going to play at a really high level when given the opportunity. It's been great to see him grow from a quiet young kid that came onto campus into somebody that's got a ton of personality and energy and affects his teammates in a positive way. Great work habits. As tough as they come. From day one, he's willing to stick his face into anything and be extremely physical and compete really hard. He's got elite speed, great ball skills, has the ability to be a great route runner. Anticipate him having a great year. You guys saw him perform extremely well in the Orange Bowl.
Coach, we'll take one final question in the section in front of me, about halfway back on the aisle.
Hi, Coach. Clark Brooks on 3 and SEC StatCat. While one of the sexiest aspects of your offense is that vertical choice, I think a really underrated aspect is the eclectic approach you have in that run game. Only 12 reps separated your most run concept from your 6th. Would you mind elaborating on how having that type of balanced approach on the ground really does help facilitate things on the back end and help things come open?
Yeah, I love your passion and energy for our offense, man. Might need you to bring you in on the recruiting pitch. I think people get caught up in the perimeter numbers and the quarterback development and the quarterback numbers that are put out there. Everybody that studies it understands that the secret to our sauce is the ability to run the football. Coach Ellerby and I have been together. I think we're going on year 8 now, 3 different stops. He does an unbelievable job. From game plan to fundamentals to teaching overall scheme and concepts on the other side of the football. Our 5 guys continue to grow. Year 1 to year 2, we took a huge step. They play synchronized, in the tempo that we play at, the ability to communicate and get everybody on the same page. Does an unbelievable job. So I appreciate you recognizing all those things.
Coach Heupel, thank you for your time this afternoon.
All right, appreciate it. Vol Nation, look forward to seeing you here in 44 days. Go Big Orange.
All right, there you go. That was Tennessee head coach Josh Heupel at the podium. We will react to what he had to say coming up next. Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase is brought to you by Zen Sports. Start earning cash rewards on your bets today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee to bet. 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Rebound, try out in front, and Saros covers it up. All the big stories.
Andrew Burnett reportedly hired as the next head coach of the Predators.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Checkered flag is in the air.
Comparing goalies to running backs.
46-27 Vanderbilt.
Does this group of players need more? The Game and the Game Nashville app.
So, because as we know, Loan Pronto, if you've been listening to our show, has been helping a lot of people get their financial game to a next level. It really helps when you know, as a homeowner, that your house is very valuable these days, and you can use the home equity to your advantage, either to pay off bills or start a home improvement project. It's really, really a great tool. We've used it ourselves in the Donick house, because we all have different financial needs, and Loan Pronto is there to help you. If you have that primary mortgage that's around 3% or less, don't mess with that, because that is going to be something you want to have locked in for a long time. But you can keep that going and then tap into your home's equity with the Express Equity Credit Line from Loan Pronto. You can get it in as little as 5 days, and then you can have the cash you need to address your needs, whether that's a home improvement project or getting those credit card bills down to zero, or anything else that you need money for, tuitions, other bills, high-interest loans, etc. Just call Loan Pronto and get access to the even faster Equity Express line, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
This year, Boys and Girls Club of Middle Tennessee celebrates its 120th anniversary. Through time, BGCMT continues to evolve to enable all young people, especially those who need us most, to reach their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible leaders. Because of your continued support, BGCMT has remained strong and is committed to supporting our youth and solidifying our mission and culture in new exciting ways for 120 years. Visit bgcmt.org today.
Seems like everything costs more these days. Food, utilities, medical costs, you name it. But as prices go up, our family budget stays the same. Fortunately, with Farm Bureau Health Plan's Core Choice coverage, we can save $3,600 a year compared to the leading competitor. And we've got better coverage with a lower premium, lower deductible, free telehealth visits, and access to one of the largest networks available. Start saving today at fbhp.com or visit your local Farm Bureau office.
Hey, are you seeking relief? Maybe you just want to enhance your day or night. Did you know there are legal THC products available right here in Tennessee? Yeah, really. You can have legal THC products shipped directly to the comfort of your home. Yes, comfort in cannabis is only a website away. Visit greentreescompany.com. That's Green Trees with a Z, and change your life today.
20 years ago, when Genesis Diamonds came to Nashville, this was one of the most expensive cities in America for diamond jewelry. Our radical approach and no middleman pricing changed that forever. And now we're doing it again, this time with lab-grown diamonds. We were shocked to find out what the other mall stores and the other big radio advertisers were charging. They sell their platinum 4-carat VS2 lab-grown earrings for $15,720. We sell them for $6,900. Their 3.08 carat lab-grown round diamond with G-color VS2 clarity is $10,045. We sell it for $5,900. Looks like they might be going back to the old ways. If they're charging this much on lab-grown diamonds, kind of makes you wonder what else they're selling at the same outrageous markup. Nashville, we are not going backwards. At Genesis Diamonds, our non-commissioned trusted advisors are here to give you all the information with details you can trust and prices you can count on. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
On July 22nd in Nashville, Tennessee, 4 men will compete in one boxing ring. Only one winner will be declared. Who will be the last man standing in the first ever Survivor Tag? KSI's Misfits Boxing is coming to Nashville. That's right, Misfits and DAZN are bringing Misfits 008 to the Nashville Municipal Auditorium, including some of the biggest names in the crossover and celebrity boxing space. The night will be packed full of action, including the first ever tag team boxing match in the U.S. Fighters on the night include gun expert Brandon Herrera, fan favorite B-Dave, political activist Alex Stein, chart-topping rapper Swarms, lightweight champion Dean the Great, former BKFC champion Alan Belcher versus Hasim Rahman Jr., and many, many more. Misfits 008 tickets are available now, starting at $20 from Ticketmaster.com.
Today's world is filled with many things that can push any of us to our limit. An upcoming move should not add to that list. When you choose Black Tie Moving, you are going to get a highly awarded Inc. 500 company. From the free estimate by a local professional moving consultant to the red carpet treatment you receive on the day of your move, their trained and dedicated team is there to ensure that they take the stress out of the process. Call 844-920-2966. Then sit back and enjoy the best move of your life.
In 1972, a Nashville family business story began when Bill and Beverly Finley founded Volunteer Hose and Gasket. 3 generations have grown the business into the local industry leader supplying just about anything to anybody, from the largest of contractors to your neighbor that mows his own yard. Over 1 million items in stock: belts, belting accessories, gaskets, gauges, hose fittings, hydraulics, industrial hoses, lubricants, sealing products, tubing, fire protection, and more. All at volunteerhose.net. If Volunteer Hose and Gasket doesn't have it, then you probably don't need it. Call them at 615-242-0461.
This year, Boys and Girls Club of Middle Tennessee celebrates its 120th anniversary. Through time, BGCMT continues to evolve to enable all young people, especially those who need us most, to reach their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible leaders. Because of your continued support, BGCMT has remained strong and is committed to supporting our youth and solidifying our mission and culture in new exciting ways for 120 years. Visit bgcmt.org today.
Golfers, swing into Edwin Watts Golf Shops. We've been serving golfers since 1968. Let us help you find the hottest gear from bags, balls, shoes, and apparel. All in stock at the best prices. Come in and test drive the latest arrivals from Titleist, TaylorMade, Callaway, Ping, and more. While you're there, get custom fit by one of our golf experts. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Shop us in store or online at edwinwattsgolfshops.com.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series tonight against Jacksonville. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey Nashville, this is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Steve Moulton, WZZN out of Huntsville, Alabama. Hope you're doing well. Wanted to ask about tampering. That has certainly been a subject that's been brought up quite a bit here lately. How big of an issue is it, and what would be a good starting point to alleviate this issue?
How big of an issue it is, I don't know. I think there's so many people that are involved in the recruitment of players. Could be high school coaches, could be workout facilities, 7-on-7 coaches, whatever. You know, there's so many different dynamics that go into it. I don't know how you stop the communication completely at any one point. So I don't have a silver bullet for that issue. Similar to a lot of other issues that maybe we're trying to navigate inside of college football. But there's a lot of smart people that are working on finding answers to those things.
Head coach Josh Heupel at the podium. Question on tampering. Wouldn't touch in that one. With not, digging himself in a hole into that one. But when I heard that, I thought, one, really, how big of a problem is tampering? And two, if it is a problem, it's not a problem that's new.
All right, let's.
Like, this has been going on probably for forever.
But let's kind of give a hypothetical here.
Yep.
Okay. Or a hypothetical.
Ha
ha. Well.
Ding, ding, ding.
All right, so I'm going into the transfer portal, right? Now, if I'm playing it by the book, I'm supposed to just go in there with a leap of faith that, yeah, I'm a good player. I'll just go in there and I'll start getting phone calls, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's jumping into a sea of uncertainty, right? I don't know if I'm doing it right. I'm not supposed to know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not supposed to have anybody calling me beforehand, but maybe before I make because as soon as I go, my scholarship's gone. That my coach that I'm leaving, I've told my coach I'm leaving. He's going to give my scholarship to Derek, right? He's got the next guy lined up. That's his job. And that's the thing. That's a two-way street.
They're going to replace you.
They're going to replace you. Now, maybe my coach says, all right, Willie, go ahead, test the waters, but remember, you can come back. That's usually not how it works. But there are some guys that maybe they do that for. But this is why a lot of kids get stuck in the portal and they don't get the grass greener on the other side. But, so now I'm trying to protect myself. So I call my uncle or my cousin or my
advisor,
coach, my advisor. Calls around, make a few phone calls. Before I decide I'm going to transfer, let's just see what we can find out. We know that's going on. Why wouldn't you do that as a player?
Why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah. So, to me, it's a big problem, right? It's got to be a big problem in there, especially when you can't go back. So, I don't know I don't know what you do about it. I don't know what you do about
it.
I'm not sure that it's no more problem than it probably was 10 years ago.
Right.
The question is how bad is it, right? It's one thing if we do some back channels. Yeah, if you did look, I don't want what if you're trying to be ethical? Like you're at school, I'm at LSU. Caroline, you want to transfer to LSU, and through the back channels, I tell your people, look, I don't know what your experience is like, Caroline, at where you are right now, but hey, you're a great player. Yes, we would be interested, but we're not telling you what to do. Where I think you can cross the line is people start calling you from LSU
You're getting
and say,
actively
Caroline,
recruited.
Caroline, you're really a good player, but your team's not very good. We just beat the crap out of you. We need somebody at your position. If you transfer, we'll jump all over you. And we got a little thing called NIL over here at LSU. We got a nice little fundage here. Just want to let you know, I don't know what you're making over at
$2 million.
right now, but we got some money for you. Like, that's where it gets bad, right?
Yeah, it does.
You kind of have to police each other a little bit.
Well,
So, hey, don't tamper with
They're
my
not
guys.
They're not doing that.
But you do have some of this, right? There is a little checks and balances. Hey, if this gets out of control, we're going to start talking. We're going to start letting people know about it.
I think eventually, if it does, if they feel it's getting out of control, because they're not going, as we know when it comes to NCAA, they're not going to actively look for things. It has to fall on their lap, and they have no choice but to go investigate it. I think a lot of times these young men and women, when they get in the portal, and that's why I would love to see it. Maybe we would, and you and I have talked about this, Willie, a 30 for 30 on the portal, because if there is tampering and there's still that many people in the portal, we have a problem.
Yeah.
But how many times have you seen a player say, hey, I'm going to transfer, and then the next day, boom, there's a graphic made up of, I'm going to TCU. Like, you're telling me in the last 12 hours you decided to transfer, and then you started having conversations with coaches, and then you got all of this made up. They don't try to camouflage it very
But I
well.
think a lot of times these men and women are going to places that were recruiting them heavy anyway. Prior to, say, if I went to Michigan State. So I knew Colorado was recruiting me heavy. I knew Kansas was recruiting me heavy.
And those
I knew
would
some
still
other,
probably be
exactly.
options.
Those are teams that still probably want me in their schools. So what I'm gonna do is, okay, I got some teams out there that I know want me. So I'm gonna go into the portal. Hey, thank you, but no thank you. I tried it here, didn't work. I'm gonna go in the portal because I know at least these 3 or 4 schools still want me on their campus or want me as a part of their team. So when they do get into campus, all of a sudden, boom. Now, there may be some back channel, here and there, like, hey, are you still – hey, go see if they're still interested in me if, indeed, I do get in the portal. And then they come back and say, yeah, just get in the portal. They said that, you can come. And lo and behold, you jump in the portal, and you jumping right back out of the portal, and you're right at a university. So I think a lot of that's how it goes. But I don't think the NCAA, unless – Willie or Caroline finds a big story and set it right there on the NCAA's lap, they're not going to do anything.
I think the best. I don't know how they do it, but I do think in the past there has been a lot of communication back and forth between the programs saying, look, we know this goes on. Let's decide how we're going to do this, okay? But let's decide how we're not going to do this, because there is no way to police it. But I think there should be a little bit of an honor among thieves, because it is coming back around. If you're poaching people from other people's rosters, it will come back around on you.
If you are a serial roster pirate, is what we can call it, I guess. There's going to be coaches that are
serial poacher.
I think it's all kind of a code of like, look, I'm doing it, you're doing it, we're all doing it. But once somebody steps over the line, it's like, look, like we have a thing going here, we have a code, and are we all kind of breaking the rules? Yeah. But when you do it to a certain extent and it starts to get shady and you start to break kind of the coach code, then I think it starts to become a problem.
But I think, listen, if these young men and women want to, make their job easier, because I know different situations cause for you to get into the portal. It's not just because, I'm not playing. There may be family issues. You may be want to be closer to home.
Coach got fired.
Exactly. There are merit of different reasons why you get in the portal. But if you want to sort of protect yourself from being in the portal purgatory, so to speak, when you get an opportunity on the field, you got to produce, whether it be on a basketball court, football court, baseball diamond. It doesn't matter. If you get an opportunity to compete, you show that you can play. So when you do get in that portal it'll be a little bit easier for you to get out of it. It's hard when you haven't stepped on the field and then say, oh, I'm transferring because they're not giving me.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you're transferring, but when you go, you have no film. You have no film. What are you doing here? You know, so I don't know.
Well, let's get your thoughts on this coming up next. We've got a bunch of texts in our text lines. We're right into those. Coming up next, Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase is brought to you by Zen Sportsbook. And we are live from the Game Studio, sponsored by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Come on. Join Robbie and Rexroad for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, everybody, it's D-Mase for Zen Sports, the new sports book in Tennessee that is bringing the cash back to Nashville, or should I just say Cashville. Zen Sports is revolutionizing the way you earn sports betting rewards on Zen Sports. What you see is what you get. And with their cash reward program, you get a lot of cash. You can hear it, I can hear it, I can visualize it. For a welcome bonus, earn an unlimited 5% cash back on your betting volume for your first 15 days when you sign up with the code D-Mason. That's D-M-A-S-O-N. That's right, unlimited 5% cash back. Keep betting and keep earning with up to 3% cash back on your betting volume every month after that. Refer a friend to earn a percentage of their betting volume as cash rewards. Zen Sports is bringing the cash back to Tennessee. So if you're betting big on sports, you want to be betting on Zen Sports. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years or older to bet in Tennessee. Gambling problems, call 1-800-889-9789. That's Zen Sports. Betting just got better.
Hear that? That's Jeff Anderson. He's that guy in your neighborhood that's always making improvements to his house, his car, his yard. On your street, it's about keeping up with the Andersons. One thing you don't know is Jeff's tools are from Harbor Freight. Tools at great prices. That circular saw right there, you wouldn't believe the deal he got. Just think, when you're keeping up with the Andersons, you're saving money. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Did you know about 50% of youth report vaping in Nashville? Half of our youth are vaping both marijuana and nicotine products. Adults can make a difference. It's time to come together to help our young people. Visit NashvilleThrivesTN.org. That's NashvilleThrivesTN.org. It's back to school time! Check out the Stars Nashville Thrives tent at the Back to School event in Madison on Saturday, July 29th from 3 to 6 at the El Patron Event Center at 709A Rivergate Parkway in Goodlettsville. Oh yeah! And in Nashville on Sunday, July 30th from 12 to 3 at Coleman Park, 384 Thompson Lane. You better get there early. There will be school supplies on a first-come basis. Bring your unused medications and safely dispose of them in the drug take-back box to keep them out of the hands of our youth. Visit NashvilleThrivesTN.org to learn more. That's NashvilleThrivesTN.org. That's NashvilleThrivesTN.org. This project is funded under a grant contract with the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willy Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Nashville's Best Deals is a great place to save cash fast. Get up to half off or more on dining and entertainment at thegamenashville.com/deals. Check back often for new featured deals and save money now at thegamenashville.com/deals.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
They're homegrown in Nashville, discussing the biggest topics in the SEC.
The fans are going to want the rivalries to stick around. They've lost to Alabama every year.
The NFL.
What if all the top 3 quarterbacks went 1, 2, 3? You've got to draft your guy at 2.
And anything in between.
From thinking we know everything to then forgetting about everything we thought we knew the day before.
They're Jonathan Hutton and Chad Withrow on Outkick's Hot Mic.
Out of the gates, ready to go.
Weekdays from 2 to 5 on 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app. Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Oh, you didn't know? You better call somebody.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Hey, tune in for Nashville Sounds Baseball tonight at 6:35 p.m. on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds take on the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, AAA affiliate of the Miami Marlins. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza Company, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and Family Leisure. We got some text in our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What we heard from Josh Heupel, the latest in college sports. Kevin Texan says this is just the new normal is what it is. It's not the college ball that we grew up, nor should it be. And it changes. Games evolve. The NFL has evolved. The NHL has evolved. Every sport in America, and even outside of America, has evolved time over time. And so there are a lot of changes that college football traditionalists probably detest, but they're not going anywhere anytime soon. But like we talked about with Mitch Light, it doesn't change my perception of the game on a Saturday. It doesn't change the feel when you're in a stadium on a Saturday afternoon and it's, an Alabama-Tennessee rivalry, whatever it might be.
I don't think the changes, all the changes that have been made, let's say majority of them, I think it has advanced college sports, particularly college football. I know, there are purists out there that may not, have liked some of the changes that has gone on with college sports, but what is the old saying? Either you adapt or you die. You wither away. So the sport has learned to adapt to the change and adapt to the players and the players' need and what the players want. Mm-hmm. I think it's a good thing that college sports as a whole. Now, I don't like some of the sort of realignment that they're making, but it's not going to prevent me from watching college football or college basketball. Mm-hmm. I just love both of the sports. But there are some things that, you wish maybe that should stay the same. But, they're only trying to do it from a playing surface standpoint to advance and make the sport better.
I'm the same way. Look, I'm a total sucker. I am addicted to all of the sports that I've had ingrained in me since I was 6 or 7. When I can first remember watching sporting events on TV.
Aren't we all?
They're never going to lose me, mm-hmm. right? But that doesn't mean I can't be very dissatisfied. Like, for example, with baseball, I was really, 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 really hoping that baseball would take the measures they've taken now to speed up the game, to make the product better, mm-hmm. to take away the shift and doing something. they went several years where I didn't think the product was at its best. I feel that way about college football and some of the things that are going on. I don't like how NIL is doing things. I don't like the fluidity of the transfer portal. I think it's created a lot of problems. But of course, when the lights go on Saturday, am I going to be watching? Absolutely.
Totally.
Just like I always have. I hate the idea of 16-team leagues. I think it's too big, especially for football. You cannot have an equitable schedule with 16 teams. They're going there. It doesn't really matter what I think.
Right.
In another 5 or 10 years, we might see 2 conferences, right? The AFC and the NFC.
We might think 16 teams was dinky and tiny.
It may get to that point. So will I still be watching? Yeah, but I don't think that's the best direction of the game.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Rick Neuheisel, former college and NFL coach, and now SiriusXM College Sports Channel, will join us coming up next. I know he's got some D-Mase stories for us, so I'm looking forward to it. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Genesis is actually a new beginning.
Genesis Diamonds owner Boaz Ramon talking about why it's called Genesis.
I love the symbolism of the name. It's a new beginning.
Boaz wanted the name of his company to mean something, to reflect his core values and the importance of starting relationships for people in love, as well as the relationship he wants with each and every customer.
It's a new beginning in their life for the relationship between us, the jeweler, the Genesis Diamond, and the customer, and it should last forever. Everything we do is for the customer.
Walk into Genesis and you can feel it. Genuine people who are solely focused on celebrating the best moments of your life.
Is not only my passion, is my culture. Genesis is the book where God created the world, the day and night, the man and the woman. Every diamond engagement ring that we specially created for the customer is a new beginning for amazing lasting relationship.
Come start your amazing lasting relationship today at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey y'all, it's Courtney with Parman Tractor and Equipment. Warmer months have you working overtime? Be sure to visit Parman Tractor and Equipment for all your New Holland tractor and bush hog needs. Swing by our store at 3570 Dickerson Pike in North Nashville or give our sales team a call. We're now offering 0% financing for 72 months on select New Holland tractors. Get the brands you trust from a local dealer like Parman, always ensuring totally outrageous customer service. Visit ParmanTractor.com for the best deals on equipment, New Holland tractor, bush hog, and more.
The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation. Call or text the Game at 615-737-1025.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series tonight against Jacksonville. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
79-52 Vanderbilt. I think he's got a coach up by Cheryl.
You're going to see more moves. The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personality of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, and we are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. Download their app today and use promo code THEGAME. Joining us now is Rick Neuheisel, former college and NFL coach, now SiriusXM College Sports Channel. And before we get into probably the important things, you were D-Mase's offensive coordinator in Baltimore. I need your best Derek Mason story.
We don't have to think very hard to get this one.
We've got a full hour if we need to fill it.
Oh my goodness! Well, we could fill the hour. Let me first say that it was a pleasure and a privilege to be on the coaching staff with Derek. A pro's pro, to say the least.
Doesn't surprise me in the bit.
And sometimes when you get a guy who's kind of late in your career, you start offering limitations because you just assume that, it's a little tired, right? That there's not as much rubber on the tire, so to speak. We made that mistake in Baltimore that we thought Derek couldn't go deep. We could not. And Derek was the first to remind us that he could. and he did. Everything he said he could do. But there was one afternoon where we had missed him on a third down and 4, which was Derek Mason down, right?
Down.
We missed him and didn't throw it to him. We had a relationship, so he immediately came to me on the sideline, and he said these words: "Y'all watch film." Y'all watch film. And he's just kind of screaming at me. And I have, all of us as assistants in the NFL have this real visceral reaction when we think we might be on television getting undressed by a player on our team. We do not want to make SportsCenter. We do not want to make NFL films. We don't want to be that guy that's on television getting ripped by the assistant. I said, Derek, yes, we watch film, but if you're going to yell at me, you got to stand over there because we cannot be seen where you're literally undressing me on the sideline. I go, I'm not doing this, man. You stand over there and we can talk. But he was dead right. He was open, just like he was always open. A pro's pro, a treat to be around. But I was not going on SportsCenter with D-Mase. No, I was not going.
You know what, Rick? I just realized something.
Oh, no.
That the year I graduated high school, 93, I took all my visits. Went to Kansas, went to Michigan State, and I had some other places. Went to Colorado in 93. You were the offensive coordinator in 94, wasn't you?
I was the passing game coordinator in 94.
You just and I would have. It was meant for us.
You.
It was meant for us to kind of cross paths, and it was meant for you to be.
And because it didn't happen there, we found our way to Baltimore.
Exactly, absolutely.
Right.
I remember I got recruited heavy by Colorado. It was just too far from home. I couldn't do it.
Michael Westbrook.
Yeah, Michael
was from
Westbrook.
Chadsey
absolutely.
High School right there in Detroit.
Yeah, we played them.
And Michael would end up being the guy who caught that Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Bill McCartney was a Michigan man.
Yes.
He had coached high school in Michigan.
He
had
recruited heavy in
had
Michigan.
been on Bo Schembechler's staff, so Michigan was home for him. So he always was going back to Michigan to find players. And ironically, Michael would be the guy that would go back to Michigan and catch that Hail Mary.
Oh, man.
To kind of ruin Coach Moeller's party, Gary Moeller's party that day. You talk about the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat in absolute real time when Cordell throws that ball. And the ball traveled 74 yards in the air. That's how long that ball was in the air.
My goodness.
It was like a golf shot. You just knew, okay, that's going to land right where it should. The ball gets tipped back up, which is the goal for the offense, just to give you a chance. And there's Michael soaking it in. 110,000 in the big house, quiet, stoic. Euphoria. I'm out there trying to hug Cordell at midfield or around the 30, which is where he threw it. He's already down in the mosh pit in the end zone. And I'm face-to-face with Gary Moeller. And Gary Moeller's just got this, like he just swallowed the worst tasting thing in the history of the world.
And us at East Lansing loved it.
And I felt like, oh man, I got to comport myself here. And then all of a sudden I'm staring at him. To hell with you! I'm going down here and have some fun. But it was quite a moment in college football. Maybe still the best Hail Mary. I know Flutie had one, but that ball didn't even get tipped against Miami. This one was textbook. And the other irony thing about that is we had actually thrown it at the end of the first half.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We made a halftime adjustment on a Hail Mary because we'd lined up our 3 wide receivers and tried to just straight release. And, Michael was the slot. He tried to take an outside release. Ray Recruth was the outside receiver. They ran into each other and fell down. So we switched it. We switched the release at halftime.
How many times in your career as a coach had you done a halftime Hail Mary adjustment?
Never. and never since. That's why it's just how things happen and the stories behind the story that are just phenomenal of how it all came to be.
Just listening to you and hearing everything that I've heard about you from D-Mase and your glowing reputation around this, this media sphere. I know you love the game. But given all of the changes, NIL, transfer portal, you have to re-recruit your players every spring. Would you want to be a coach in this current college football landscape?
It's a question I ask myself all the time because my son is in it,
Mm-hmm.
right? I have a son who's the wide receiver coach at UCLA, and he is affixed to his phone. He can't leave it. I think Nick Saban said the other day that they had done a study on his staff that, just a few years ago, coaches in college football were spending, of the 52 weeks on a calendar, 33 of them were 7-day-a-week jobs. 33. It's up to 44. It's up to 44. Nick Saban on a radio interview with us yesterday said that the entire month of June, they worked every day. Now, that was where you had camps, and then you'd start to kind of slide off into a little family time. Not available right now. And we've done it to ourselves. Unfortunately, and Derek will remember this, coaches in this profession are paranoid. Because there's the supply-demand numbers are not in sync, right? There's a huge supply, and, demand, there are only so many jobs. So to hang on to your job, you get paranoid about who's trying to take it. And it's not an X's and O's game as much as it's a Jimmy's and Joe's game. And so if you're trying to get the best roster, you're in a constant state of who's getting my guy. And now you have to worry about them taking the guys right from you. So it is a paranoid situation. And the other problem we have in college athletics, and it's nobody's fault, but it's a reality, and I'm not sure how we're going to fix it, but I keep banging the drum to make people aware of the problem. No one has the job description, as we sit here today, to fix college athletics. The job description is to make sure our conference is the best, or our conference is healthy. We're all going about it from a individual. If we think about just your conference as an individual, I'm here to protect the SEC. I'm here to protect the Big Ten. Those two conferences are going along swimmingly. The other three now are fighting to be number 3. As we talk Power 5, the group of 5, thrilled that now we've got a chance to be in the college football playoff with the 12-team playoff program beginning next year. But still, on the back end of this thing, just hoping for some trickle down. It's not healthy. And poaching players from one another, tampering, whatever you want to call it, pay for play, not NIL. These things are all nebulous right now. We can put a bow on it and say it's all clean and nice. It's not. There's a lot of because we're all trying to get the best players so that we can survive. Survival of the fittest is the best way to describe college athletics right now, and that's not the way it should be when the paramount goal is to be education. We got to fix it, and somebody's got to be able, like Pete Rozelle did 100 years ago for the NFL with those owners, and said, "Look, let's negotiate as one." That's why the NFL is the number 1 sport in all of sport. I mean, we have this love affair with football, but they negotiate, and these networks, they learn, sit there, okay, you have Thursday, you guys have Saturday, you guys have Sunday, we got you Monday. We spread it out with all the different networks, and we get the most from it. College is all doing it, fighting each other, and they're leaving a lot of money on the table, which could be used to keep these educational opportunities for young people.
Now, do you think it will get to a point, Coach, where, all of them start thinking on one accord and we all try to get a contract
we can
that
only
can
hope.
help everybody?
We can only hope, but whose job is it to do that, right? I feel the weight. Greg Sankey's been wonderful. He's been here all 4 days. Most commissioners would have been here and out. The guy is by far and away the best leader we have in college athletics as we sit here today. I can feel the weight on his shoulders because his job's to make sure the SEC is the best. Check that box. They are. It's by far and away the most accomplished conference in all of sport right now in the collegiate space. But he also sees these tremendous challenges, whether it be the life of a coach, whether it be student athletes and, the importance of an education, name, image, and likeness. Is it pay for play or is it name, image, and likeness? He's been to Washington trying to get congressional help. He feels the weight of it because everybody looks at him and says, you got to fix this. His job's to do what he's doing. And He told me a story the other day about being in a meeting where they were talking about name, image, and likeness with a bunch of people that he had to be at the meeting. He was the chair from the Power 5 sector. And all these young people who are in college athletics and leaders, fledgling leaders or accomplished leaders at smaller places were listening to this conversation about name, image, and likeness. A very, very extensive treatise on this subject. And at the end, they said, any questions? And he had literally, as he listened to it, written down 8 or 9 thoughts on the conversation. And he sat and waited, and not one had a question. And he went crazy. He said, wait, how can we be talking on the most important thing facing college athletics right now? The most important thing as we try to survive and save all these educational opportunities, which is supposed to be the mission statement of this whole exercise. How can we sit here and the leadership not ask a question about name, image, and likeness? Because we're all in a survival mode. We're all just, hey, I'm just going to keep my job. Mm-hmm. It's a wilderness right now, and we're trying to find our way through
it. In the wilderness, what would you advise high school athletes who are getting into this world? I would like to think that as it shakes out and they educate themselves, you hear stories, you learn the process, that maybe it doesn't become as much about chasing an extra few $1,000s.
Right.
But it just seems like it's easy to get pulled into that when you're 17, 18 years old. If it's 10,000 or 20, it sounds like a ton of money.
You've heard the term. It's now as we use our phones to communicate. You've heard the term FOMO, right?
Yeah.
The fear of missing out.
Yeah.
Right. That's what's going on. And moms and dads have it as much as the kids. Moms and dads, and I get this from my son all the time, who's talking about what the conversations are now in the living room when you're recruiting. You can talk about the virtues of your school and the value of this major or that major on campus, and where you're going to play, and the beauty of the UCLA experience, or you name the university experience. At the end of the day, what do you have for us? Mm-hmm. It's because I'm hearing these people, and some of what you're hearing is outlandish and embellished, but they're real. But they get down to that because if I don't get it, who's getting it? And we have a number of conversations that begin there. Name, image, and likeness was supposed to be where you get to exercise your brand and earn some extra money. The scholarships were all the same. They were going, but then when you get established, you can, if they're selling Derek Mason jerseys, Derek should get a cut of that. Right? We all get that. Name, image, and likeness right now is just subterfuge for pay for play. Lure you in. I mean, if you go to Texas as an offensive lineman, you become part of what they call the pancake house, and you get $50,000 a year if you're one of 16 offensive linemen. They get 16 different offensive line slots that get $50,000. They call it the pancake house. I mean, that's not because we can't name an offensive lineman at Texas right now. No. That's not name image. You don't even know who they are. You just know that they're playing.
They're probably pretty good. But
the point is, that's where we're headed, and we have no guardrails. States are making their own individual rules.
But isn't it short-sighted, too? Like, if you're going there,
it's ridiculously short-sighted.
That money's long gone by the time you're
100%, but bird in the hand, right? And we're talking about an industry in college athletics that only 3% are going on to professional careers. Only 3, and less than that are going to have the career that Derek enjoyed. I mean, it's just an impossibility. This is about education. What we need to do is supersize these scholarships based on the revenue coming in. Have somebody collectively bargain on behalf of the players. We've got all sorts of models with these revenue shares with, you name the professional league. So you take that number and you say, I'm splitting this across. And to handle the Title IX implications, you say we're spreading it across the entire athletic department, not just football, but every student athlete's going to get this supersized scholarship. Then you get on campus. After your freshman year, you can get, and this will all be collectively bargained, so it will pass muster with the courts. Then you go, because that gives you an antitrust exemption. Then you go into the world of name, image, and likeness. If you get a deal with a restaurant in town, great for you, right? If you get a deal with your jersey sold, great for you. Johnny Manziel, I think they would have made $50,000 on jersey sales. Johnny deserved it.
Sure.
Johnny football jerseys were going crazy. The bottom line is, though, we are going about this backwards because we held on to this concept of amateurism forever. We got whipped in a Supreme Court case, the NCAA versus Alston, where Alston was challenging that we should have more resources for educational pursuits rather than a limitation on them while we're an amateur athlete. 9-0, the Supreme Court agreed with him. In a time and space where the Supreme Court can't agree on anything, right? It's 5-4 no matter what you say.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
That is a great point.
9-0, they say, you're wrong, you can't do that. So now they're afraid. And the NCAA has been rendered neutered. They're and Charlie Baker, former governor of Massachusetts, now the president, I don't know what he's going to do. I have no idea. They tell Texas, you can't have a state law that says you can give gifts to those who are contributing to a collective. You're going to be subject to penalties if Texas A&M or any other Texas school takes advantage of this law. In the law, it says, if you try to sue us, we're going to sue you.
Great.
And we know what their record is when they get sued in the NCAA. Now it's a stalemate. It's like the gunfight at the OK Corral. They're just staring at each other with guns. No one's going to pull the trigger. And that's where we are.
This is a guy that played for the San Antonio Gunslingers.
So
he knows the USFL.
We are in a land. We need a Marshall Dillon. We need a Marshall Dillon fast.
Last one for you. Your son's in a unique position now because at UCLA, you're used to traveling to Oregon, to Northern California. Well, now you're going to Nebraska. Now you're going to Iowa. And
keep going. You're to Rutgers.
Piscataway. Going to Rutgers. So, yeah, enjoy Runzas, you Los Angeles Indians. Do you think conference realignment, should college football fans be concerned about conference realignment and where it's going?
I don't think you have your head in the sand if you're not. But if you're UCLA, who was in the red, and Martin Jarman, the athletic director there, whose job description is get us back solvent, you had to take the money. When George Kliavkoff got the job as the commissioner of the Pac-12, he had one job in my mind, and I said this on our radio program. You better make sure USC's happy, because USC is the bell cow of that conference, or was the bell cow of that conference. Listen, there were great stories about Oregon. There were great stories about Washington. They had their moments in the sun. Stanford with David Shaw and Jim Harbaugh had a moment where they were one of the top programs in the country. UCLA's been there. But at the end of the day, the Trojans had 11 national championships. They haven't been in the college football playoff one time. Some of that their own mismanagement, some of it just the Pac-12, they were the first to go to 9 conference games. Why? What are you doing? You're guaranteeing yourself 6 extra losses, and that costs you from being one of the Final Four. I mean, when the Big Ten went to 9 conference games, Ohio State lost a game at Iowa one year and lost a game at Purdue one year, and that's the 2 years they were out. The Big Ten was out of the conference, the college football playoff. Stupid. I mean, don't hate the player, hate the game, right? The College Football Playoff Committee has never said that you have to play 9 conference games to get there. So why are you? You're just hurting yourselves. At the end of the day, this travel is going to be a big deal. I keep arguing football, I get. Derek played in the NFL. He's traveled coast to coast. Once every now and then is fine. If you did it 4 times a year, you could survive it. But when you start doing it with these other sports and you go for a weekend and then you have to go for a weekend someplace else, that's going to be ridiculous. The rest of these sports that are not producing the kind of revenue that football is should be staying regional. And we should be competing there and then have national tournaments where we find out who's the best. But, again, the cart gets before the horse in this, and unfortunately we end up seeing what the consequences are before we figure out how to clean it up.
Logistical nightmare.
Oh, absolutely.
But it pays off.
Well, this is why we having Rick on. I mean, a lot of great insight. He understands the game.
I understand the problems. I understand the problems.
Now we need to see somebody to solve
We need to get the great minds in college athletics, and there are some great ones. In
you
a room,
could be part of it.
I would love to be a part of it, even if I just had to sit and listen. I would love to be a part of it because I care that deeply. I know what it meant to me. I know what these experiences are. My pitch in a living room when I was coaching Derek was always this. I want your son to have the same experience that I had. I was at UCLA in the 1980s. The Pacific Ocean was our air conditioner. I mean, it was phenomenal. I was getting one of the top educations in all the world. I was with so many good people. I was sitting there on a college campus that was vibrant, where Jackie Joyner was running for gold medals in the Olympics. I had Peter Vidmar was jumping around, being the All-American gymnast in the Olympics. The basketball program, was
At its
phenomenal.
peak,
The
yes.
freshmen went to the Final Four, lost in the game to Louisville with Darren Day and Rod Foster and all those guys. I was like, this is incredible. I was around greatness. And that was college for me. We now are going for 1 year, for 2 years, and we're moving around. We don't get – there's no dear old you. Yeah. And to me – we are missing it, and the kids are missing it, not getting their education along the road. Now, we'll look back and say, well, they got their degree, but did they get what we really go for, which are those relationships forged on campus and the ability to realize how life works, because we're away from home, we're meeting all people from all different socioeconomic situations, and that's college.
Rick Neuheisel, he is the very best, and you can catch more of him on SiriusXM College Sports Channel. Appreciate you for joining us. We'll react.
Get better players. I'm really excited about this defensive front.
And your source for Nashville sports.
They had missed the playoffs. Those players may end up being practice squad guys.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Ray Jeter here with Harness. Are you an experienced superintendent, project manager, foreman, or estimator? Do you possess a unique perspective that sees problems as valuable opportunities? We are an excavations and site utilities contractor. We are actively seeking skilled superintendents, project managers, foremen, and estimators who embrace challenges with a positive mindset. If you embody this mindset, apply today at selectharness.com. Harness LLC, build people, move dirt.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Hose and Belting Specialties in Murfreesboro is your local source for hydraulic, air, water, and chemical hoses, along with conveyor, timing, and metric belt needs. They stock metric fittings for both air and hydraulic applications. Hose and Belting Specialties stocks Parker hydraulic hoses and fittings, Goodyear Conti-Tech industrial hoses, and V-belts, just to name a few of their lines. For any of your industrial needs, call 615-895-HOSE. 615-895-HOSE.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
More than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio for their news, traffic, weather, sports, and a community connection. It's the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times. It's critical that we keep AM radio in cars, because when cell and internet services are down, this free emergency service could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
At
SimpliSafe, we've designed award-winning home security with advanced sensors, HD cameras, and now this 24/7 LiveGuard protection, only from SimpliSafe. Now, monitoring agents can see and speak to intruders through our new indoor camera to help stop crime in real time and for fast police response. Get 20% off any new system with Fast Protect monitoring at simplisafe.com/radio. Advanced home security, 24/7 professional monitoring for less than $1 a day. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We need to get the great minds in college athletics, and there are some great ones. In
You
a room,
could be part of it.
I would love to be a part of it, even if I just had to sit and listen. I would love to be a part of it because I care that deeply. I know what it meant to me. I know what these experiences are. My pitch in a living room when I was coaching, Derek, was always this. I want your son to have the same experience that I had.
There you go. That was Rick Neuheisel, former college and NFL coach. He's now on SiriusXM College Sports Radio. I'm so impressed. I'm just sitting here just in awe of what Rick Neuheisel had to say. And if you missed that, you can find that on your preferred podcast platform and on our streaming socials as well. And when Rick Neuheisel was breaking down his experience at UCLA of, just how much fun he had, the people that he had, he was acquaintances with who were also athletes at the time, it makes me think and it makes me sad. College athletics, that experience isn't the norm anymore. When you go somewhere because you love it and you have a 4-year full experience and it's just the simplicity and the innocence of it all, that doesn't exist anymore. And there are pros and cons to that no longer existing. But I think we're all kind of looking at it in a bit of nostalgia of the classic college experience. Just it's not as prevalent. I don't want to say it doesn't exist.
Yeah, you can still have it if you
prevalent.
choose it. If you value that, you can still have that. And if you sometimes are a little patient as opposed to impatient, but you get lured into this, as he was saying. Like it just the cart is the horse is out of the barn.
Yeah.
So everybody starts chasing it. I thought he used a really interesting term, the fear of missing out, the FOMA. I do think that that's happening a lot, and that clouds your ability to see the big picture and how valuable the experience at one spot is. And look, it's not for everybody, but look, Josh Heupel, what was one of his main themes he wanted to feature today at the podium was that Joe Milton, once he lost the job to Hendon Hooker, 9 times out of 10 these days, those guys are bolting. They're going to they're going to another school. He stuck it out, and now he's got a chance to be the main man. And you want to see, Josh Heupel wants to see that experience do well because he wants the continuity. Coaches don't want guys going all over the place. They want continuity.
It's more work for them, too.
Yes. It shows if he can get someone like, Joe Milton to stay and then end up being successful, as we all wish he is, because you sort of like, man, he actually stayed, even though I know he left Michigan, but he came here and he got beat out twice, and really once, and then Tennessee. But he stuck around because he wanted to improve as a player, and he knew eventually he would get another shot. But he can also use that as a tool of, hey, listen, look what Joe Milton did. He stayed. Even though he was beat out the previous year, he stayed, he waited his turn, he got better, and look at him. He flourished. So you don't always have to just jump ship when things aren't going your way.
In that same breath, and I wish nothing but the best for Joe Milton. If he is successful, wins the Heisman, gets Tennessee to the college football playoff, wins a national championship, that's yet a chapter in the book that shows, hey, if you transfer, you can find success elsewhere.
I know, it's interesting.
Because
he did transfer.
Yeah, he did transfer.
And we're lauding him for staying for 3 years. But that you're right. It's a different world that we're in right now, especially with quarterbacks.
Yeah,
totally.
Quarterbacks it's in that situation because only one person can play the position at a time. So when you say if you come in and you're the upperclassman and you lose your job, say you're a junior, you lose your job automatically, you're thinking, I'm gone because I may not ever get another opportunity. And sometimes it works. Majority of times it doesn't, but we only see the situations like a Jalen Hurts where he goes from Alabama to Oklahoma and he ends up in a Heisman Trophy race, but then he ends up being a third-round pick in the National Football League, and look where he's at now. But those are far and few between in regards to guys or girls being successful if indeed they do transfer to the next, school.
You look at the past Heisman Trophy winners, with the exception of Devontae Smith and Bryce Young, over the last, 7 years, every Heisman Trophy winner has transferred. Caleb Williams transferred from Oklahoma to USC. Joe Burrow, Ohio State to LSU. Kyler Murray, Texas A&M to Oklahoma. Baker Mayfield, Texas Tech to Oklahoma. So we see those success stories. And I don't blame an individual player that says, I want my opportunity. And I think the flexibility and the versatility to be able to decide when you get to change your career is the empowerment of college athletics that we've all wanted, that I'm sure you wish you probably had when you had it at the time. So I don't want to paint it in a negative light, because inherently I do think it's a good thing. But like we said, once the toothpaste is out of the tube, there's no bringing it back in. You can't maintain only the positive things about it when you know that there's going to be greed everywhere.
Yeah, and I just think, just my personal opinion, I think these young men and women are different from, what we were, Willie, when we were going into college. Because I think we were more willing to, even though the rules were different, we can say the rules were different, but I would tend to believe that, back then, athletes, whether men or women, you wanted to stick it out and fight through it. You wanted, because you love competition, and you wanted to fight through the competition because you knew once you fought through it, it made you a better player. So me being at Michigan State in, 1993, that year, I told the story. I left, and I wanted to transfer. Good thing I couldn't, because it wouldn't have allowed me to fight through some of the things that I had to fight through, earn my keep on the field. Nowadays, kids are like, listen, they don't even earn anything. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, I'm not playing? You hadn't even earned it. I'm not playing. I'm leaving. Instead of trying to fight through whatever you're going through, and if you can't fight through it, then okay, you make a decision that's best for you. But at least try to fight through it, because if you transfer somewhere else and you can't fight through it, what happens? You transfer again, then you transfer again, and then you miss what Coach Neuhauser was talking about, the experience of college as a whole. Mm-hmm. I understand the experience of athletics, but the experience of college as a whole. I wish I could go back to college from this standpoint, because I was so driven to accomplish a goal on a football field. I missed out on all the college stuff. Like, I missed out on meeting new people and hanging out and having the fun, going to this, doing that. I was always worried I can't do this because I don't want to mess up anything on the practice field, or I don't want to get suspended for doing it. I don't want to get caught. No, I didn't get an opportunity to truly enjoy myself as a college athlete.
Great sit down with former college and NFL head coach Rick Neuheisel. That is part of our SEC Media Days coverage, sponsored by Volunteer Hose and Gasket and Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Coming up next, kind of along the same lines with the problems that we're facing in college athletics. David Ubben from The Athletic did a really interesting poll with college football fans, kind of brought to light what really we think are the biggest problems in college athletics. And we'll break down David Ubben's article. Coming up next, Caroline, Willy, D-Mase is brought to you by Zen Sports. Start earning cash rewards on your bets today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee to bet. 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
It's been an offseason of change for the Nashville Predators.
Still going to be a relatively young roster. Johansson's gone, Duchesne's gone.
The Nashville Predators are interested, potentially, in a Brett Pesce.
They did trade Ekholm, Granlund, Tanner Jeannot.
What's next for Smashville's team?
They want to get younger. They're going to have to move a piece.
We have you covered with every move on your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
Sometimes you want a sure return on your investment. That's where CDs come into play. At F&M Bank, they've been providing smart choices to customers for over a century, including CDs that are a great way to save. You make a deposit and collect the earnings on your terms. Great rates, predictable results, and backed by the Federal Deposit Insurance Company. That's smart banking. Life is complicated. Banking shouldn't be. So go see them at one of their 20 locations across Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky or online at myfmbank.com. F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
We pride ourselves on being transparent, opening up the books, and sharing all the secrets of the diamond industry. We have a passion for this, and part of having a passion is sharing that passion.
Genesis Diamonds Vice President David Cooper says, at Genesis, you don't just get an entry-level course in diamonds, you get a PhD.
We love educating our customers, even over-educating our customers about diamonds and gemstones, so they can truly see the difference in what we offer.
At Genesis, diamonds are not a side business. It's their only business.
We eat, breathe, and sleep diamonds.
So whether you end up buying at Genesis or not, come for the education.
The better educated we can make you at Genesis Diamonds, the better a shopper you're going to be, whether you shop with us or anyone else. You will be able to tell the difference and know what you are buying, so you make the best decision for you.
Genesis Diamonds, proud to offer one of the largest selections of GIA certified diamonds in the nation, with no middleman markups, no retail pricing games, no commission salespeople, and no nonsense. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
3 days of racing, 3 days of music, one huge weekend event. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is not just a race or a festival, it's an experience. Multiple music stations with Flo Rida, Vince Neil, Chris Jansen, Gavin DeGraw, and more. Fast cars going over 200 miles an hour. And a family fun zone with inflatables, Ferris wheels, kids games, and kid-friendly food trucks. Tickets and premium hospitality are on sale now. Go to MusicCityGP.com for tickets and get ready to experience Nashville's premier speed and sound event.
Election Day in Davidson County is August 3rd. Don't forget to cast your vote for mayor, vice mayor, at-large council members, district council members, and Tennessee House of Representatives District 51. This important election will help shape the future of our region. Early voting is from July 14th through 29th. If necessary, the runoff election will take place September 14th. For more information on registration, early voting, and polling locations, visit the link at thegamenashville.com.
It's back to school time! Check out the Stars Nashville Thrives tent at the Back to School event in Madison on Saturday, July 29th from 3 to 6 at the El Patron Event Center at 709A Rivergate Parkway in Goodlettsville. And in Nashville on Sunday, July 30th from 12 to 3 at Coleman Park, 384 Thompson Lane. There will be school supplies on a first-come basis. Bring your unused medications and safely dispose of them in the drug take-back box. This project is funded under a grant contract with the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series tonight against Jacksonville. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey Nashville, this is Paul Feinbaum and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, and The Game Nashville app. Hey, it is the last day of SEC Media Days, so I want to have some fun. I want to give something away. We've got your chance to win tickets to Misfits Boxing X Series 008 boxing matches at the Nashville Municipal Auditorium this Saturday. Text in the keyword boxing, BOXING, to the Game text line at 615-737-1025 now to enter. So David Ubben, who covers college sports, college football mostly, for The Athletic, put out a poll, or at least presented the results of his poll. The fan survey results, talking about the biggest issues surrounding college sports. And what really kind of surprised me more than anything was this one question that David Ubben asked, said to the readers, the listeners, says, what do you think is the biggest issue facing college football? To my surprise, the highest percentage, with 27, so not an overwhelming majority, but the highest percentage, conference realignment. I was surprised to see that be the number one concern, the number one issue over NIL, managing rosters in the transfer portal, lack of parity, and other.
Yeah, and it didn't win by much, but it did win, and it comes back to something I think we hit earlier in the show.
Yeah.
I think most of the people that respond on these fan polls, and I I weighed in on the poll.
What did you say?
None of my answers were quoted by David Oven. I was hoping to see my name in there. I was like, Willy from Nashville. Where is he?
Control F Donick.
Not in there. He did quote some of the people that weighed in because there was a comment section in there too. That one could easily have been all of the above, right? Those are three huge, huge issues. You just heard Rick Neuheisel talking about a lot of it. But the conference realignment won it, I think, because that maybe relates to a fan more. At the end of the day, the Joe fan just wants to see his team on Saturday or her team on Saturday. The name, image, and likeness, that doesn't really – they just want – do we have good players? They're not worried about any of the inner workings. Just get me the players. Let's win on Saturday.
Give me to the playoffs.
The conference realignment, that does kind of get into your world a little bit more. So it's like, oh, wait a minute. We got Texas and Oklahoma we got to beat now for my team to win the SEC or to get to the playoffs. Like, what does that mean now?
What do you mean, like we're not playing in the Rose Bowl anymore?
Yeah. So I think some fans see the game through that prism. They're not worried as much about what's under the rock. It's just like, what am I seeing on Saturday?
Fair point.
Well, yeah, but I think if you look at it based upon percentages, I think as a whole, everything is pretty much close, whether it's conference realignment, NIL, managing rosters and transfer portal, a lack of parity. But there's never been truly parity in college football, at least from my knowledge. But I think as a whole, people are concerned with the whole of college athletics.
There's not one
There's
glaring
not really
issue.
one glaring issue.
It's just a mess of problems.
Absolutely. And I think it's because, conference realignment, I think some people enjoy it. I think some people don't, but I think more people are sort of in the middle. They're like, yeah, I mean, it makes our conference better. It may make my team's job a little bit harder, but, my team, say if your team's, LSU or Georgia, it's like, I don't care because we're going to continue to win no matter what. When it comes to NIL, I don't think a lot of people truly understand NIL, and it's no fault of theirs. They shouldn't. I mean, unless you got a child that is being recruited and that has the potential to earn NIL, just the everyday person, they just like their college. They don't really care or understand how NIL truly works.
It is a lot more confusing than it probably ever intended to be. And I do think in terms of conference realignment, it's a big majority of some of those teams that might be in the mucky middle, like some of those teams in the ACC or in the Pac-12 that are not necessarily concerned about what it means right now, but what conference realignment could mean 5, 10, 15, 20 years in the future. Like, let's say Wake Forest, for example. We had Mitch Light early on in the show. Wake Forest might, at the end of all of this, might be left without a quote-unquote super conference. Well, if I'm a fan of that team, that makes me awfully concerned of not what it is now, but what it can be.
But what does it do for teams like Notre Dame, who doesn't, from a football standpoint, who doesn't have a conference? They're independent.
And like it that way.
Exactly. They like it that way.
Yeah.
But I think eventually Notre Dame is going to have to become a part of one of these conferences.
Oh, all the fighting Irish alum are rolling in their graves thinking about belonging to a conference.
They're going to be left out if
well,
they don't.
That is going to be one of the most compelling stories, I think, in the next couple of years because their deal comes up here soon. Right when their deal, what I mean by that is their deal with NBC. Remember, like when we were, in our formative years, D-Mase was the first year. I think it was 1991
when they got their first deal.
They got the first deal with NBC. Oh my gosh, NBC just entered in with it. They're going to televise all of Notre Dame's home games, and they've been doing that ever since. They have a great relationship with NBC. It's going to come up again, and so to compete with, let's say your choices are go into the Big Ten, who is about to get UCLA and USC. The payout is $65 million per team, or that's what they're speculating, which is the highest, even higher than the SEC.
Yeah.
And it's an arms race between those two leagues.
Well, if they settle the agreement, which that was a thing a couple months ago, where kind of deals kind of up in the air. But yes,
that is.
In theory.
In theory. So NBC might still want the partnership. NBC is in this mix, right?
Yeah.
They're in the Big Ten deal. But Notre Dame still could crack a deal with NBC if they can get up into that $60 million range where Notre Dame still has their cake and can eat it too. Rick Neuhauser brought an interesting one to me. It's like, should there just be a different thing for football? Let's have a model for football for college athletics and then a more reasonable geographic thing for the rest of the sports, because Notre Dame kind of has it that way. They're independent for football, and then they're in a league for the other sports. It kind of makes sense in some ways. Wouldn't some other leagues be smart to do it that way?
But I think it only works with the Big Ten, really, because if you're talking SEC, Oklahoma and Texas coming in doesn't take them far away from the other southern schools there are. They're right next to Florida. I mean, not too far from Florida. They're not too far from Louisiana. Mississippi's right there. So with them, it's a little bit easier in that conference. The problem is SC and UCLA coming to the Big Ten.
They just took all the geographic stuff and
they just threw it out the window. And
Doesn't
say,
matter. There's no map. I'm laughing because I just saw Joe Rexrode just get trampled by Joe Milton. Careful around that big guy. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll continue the conversation coming up next, because even after all of that, when we've seen that there's not one big glaring issue according to David Ubbin's fan poll, there's just a whole bunch of issues that everyone's concerned about. It's another kind of happy realization on the other side. So we'll get into that, and of course your text as well, 615-737-1025. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, live and local from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. When you want the national
Hey. I got this. I'll take it from here.
Okay, go ahead. Dying to hear this.
We have the best national voices that you'll find anywhere.
Who was more deserving of being thrown from their game?
I'm odd, so I get the odd picks.
They have a new coaching staff.
It's not a bad scenario for them.
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
And 94.9 The Fan.
In countries around the world, people don't have free speech. They can be harassed, jailed, and punished for expressing their honest opinions. That's why for more than 20 years, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, has been fighting to ensure that America never abandons its commitment to free expression. Because FIRE believes that free speech makes free people. Join the free speech movement at thefire.org. Paid for by thefire.org.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture eats strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel stays true to the spirit of Music City, the perfect spot for sports and arena concert fans year-round. Savor Bar Lines Originals, the Bar Line Barbecue Burger or Midtown Mushroom Swiss Burger. Excite your taste buds with the Sobro Grinder with smoked turkey, the Boss Hog with whiskey braised pork butt, and the Angry Chicken, pickle brine fried chicken breast with honey sriracha. Attending an event downtown? Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel, open daily at 11 a.m. is a great way to kick off your afternoon or evening.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
The Angie's List you know and trust is now Angie, and we're so much more than just a list. We still connect you with top local pros and show you ratings and reviews, but now we also let you compare upfront prices on hundreds of projects and book a service instantly. We can even handle the rest of your project from start to finish. So remember, Angie's List is now Angie, and we're here to get your job done right. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
They combine hard-hitting journalism.
The Titans asked Kevin Byard to take a pay cut.
Strong-willed opinions.
There's hot takes and then there's like weird takes. Yeah. This is a weird take.
And sometimes some old man takes.
I'm excited about it. So do I gyrate embarrassingly?
To create the perfect morning show, they are Robbie and Rex Road. Mornings from 6 to 9. Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I'm Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Breaking down David Ubben's most recent fan survey on The Athletic. And when asked about the biggest issue facing college football, when we talk about conference realignment and NIL and the transfer portal and the lack of parity, which lack of parity is nothing new in college football. It has always existed. It will always exist. It has seemed that for the most part, the big mass of college football fans are pretty much worried about all of it. Mm-hmm. But there's another question that David Ubben posted. So what is your attitude toward the future of college football? Not just this college football season, not just your individual team, but the future of college football. The most popular answers were 8, 7, and 10. So at the end of the day, all college football fans are still very excited about what the future of college football holds, even though we're all very unsure of what that future looks like.
And a lot of comments that he posted there in the article reflect what I think we all know, is that we're suckers. We love the game. We love the events so much. We love the tradition so much. They got us hooked. We're going to watch, even if they try to screw it up. I mean, that's an age-old thing about baseball. They've been trying to kill this game for 100 years, and they can't do it, even when they canceled the World Series, in 1994 and that kind of stuff.
Won't back down.
Yeah, they figure it out. But I do think I'm curious in the next 5 to 10 years as this era continues to unfold, dealing with NIL, all of those issues that Rick Neuheisel was so good to sort of compartmentalize. And how does it shake out? How do the players, how do the families who have kids coming up into this, how do they view it 5 years from now, 10 years from now? You got a brand new person at the top of the NCAA. Can he do anything to try to salvage their reputation? Right now it's shattered, right? What kind of teeth, what kind of leadership are you getting? Well, Charlie Baker's coming in to try to make something of it. That's his job. So
it's not a job I'm really envious of.
Yeah. But the next 5 to 10 years will be different. This is a new era, I think, especially the playoff expanding.
Yeah, I mean, it's changed. It's rapidly changing, the landscape of college sports. Here's a quote that I pulled out from one of the fans, and ironically, I would pull out a Michigan State person.
Go green.
Go white. Tim, I hope you're listening, so that's what you need to say. It says, all around great product, meaning college sports. Would like more roster stability in the transfer portal era, though, wrote Nassib from Michigan State, who selected the number 9. So I think as a whole, people are excited to see where college sports is going or where college football is going. I think you're going to have those select few that are a fan of their school, but not necessarily a huge fan. Like if their school is not playing, they're not watching. So they may be a little bit concerned about, maybe a lower school about, conference realignment, NIL is messing up my school because now my school is going to get left behind. I think you have less of those individuals than you have of the individuals that are thinking like Nassib, like, oh, I love college sports. I wish some things would change, but as a whole, I like where college athletics is headed. More importantly, college football is headed, because it just makes for a more interesting Saturday each and every week, because you now know that more than likely you're going to get a good game going on. You're going to get good product going on. You're going to see some of the best athletes in college football just about each and every week. I enjoy sitting down, at 11 while I'm, or if I'm just around the house, had a game on and just watching, and it may not even be the Big Ten or the SEC. It may be an ACC game or Pac-12 or Big 12 game, or even a conference that I usually don't watch. But I love college.
Liberty, Coastal Carolina game.
Because I love college football, I'm going to watch it.
Right.
So.
Well, that's going to do it for us today. That is a wrap on SEC Media Days here in downtown Nashville at the Grand Hyatt. Appreciate our wonderful sponsors over at Volunteer Hose and Gasket and Mercedes-Benz of Music City for sponsoring our coverage this week. Stillman & Company is up next.
We came, we saw, and we beat it. Be love and love on your people. Peace.
It's a new one.
Exactly.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Does this sound familiar? Did your agent provide excellent entertainment with their TikTok videos and constant social media posts about themselves while completely